Yo, what's up, How we doing?
I need to say my thing, you rude little sweary thing.
What, is me cursing new?
Quit swearing, I'm trying to talk. What's up, squishies? Let's go through the whole thing. Number one.
Yeah.
I'm caught up.
You caught up? I was so glad I was at your house when it happened.
Round of applause. Nobody can believe it. It is the most exciting thing ever. Number two is, I'm gonna spoil the shit out of you today if you're not caught up.
If you're an anime only, you're in a danger zone.
And then number three is, I just randomly, while I was reading to catch up, I started just posting weird crap inside of Discord. I use Discord more than people who are new to Discord think.
I lurk. You are an active participant pretty regularly.
So I was online and all of a sudden I put, I'm racing along, because somebody was talking about catching up. And they were like, where are you, mama? Expecting me to give them a chapter. And I said, February. Pearl being alive is not cool. Don't talk about that. That's not a thing we need to discuss.
Did I tell you I got a comment on the Dressrosa video that was like, hey, Drawk, do you regret saying Pearl is dead after reading 1117? And I just had to reply, yes. I want to be honest.
Welcome to my life, baby.
I didn't actually think Pearl was dead. I just thought we'd never see him again so I could call him dead safely. However...
You know what I kind of think? I'm starting to think Oda's watching the stream and he was just like, screw you, Pearl.
Guys. I do think it's a bit funny that Pearl is the only one who didn't get like a glow up. That Geen and Don Krieg look cool now and Pearl looks the same.
So then, as I was updating everyone in Discord, everybody was kind of with me and it was pretty amazing. I can't think of anyone here who's had a cooler catch-up experience. Maybe you have, feel free to share it in Discord. People would be like, oh my God, she's here. And it was so cool. And then when I got to the end, we all had like a freaking amazing celebration. It's one of the cooler moments ever. I can't imagine a better way than hanging out with the squishies while I caught up. Drawk was standing beside me and every single chapter I would go through, he would have to like leave the room and come back and be like, freaking amazing, because Drawk was with me. We got to share it.
I was so happy I got to be there for it. It was perfect. It could have been better.
Number five is, it's hilarious to look at Whole Cake and how many people are so pressed about the politics in it from different perspectives. Look, snooty Americans making everything about America. And I'm like, bro, I'm Canadian, but okay, pop off. Yeah. And then I was like, this has a lot to do with America. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean you get to change the way the world works. The United States does have a ton of pull and has been involved deeply in history, and people look at them because whether you like it or not, America's always been seen as sexier than Canada. Deny that. Nobody is like, Canada.
Yeah.
Sex.
No,
Like, you can't be pissed that I'm saying that a ton of this is about the United States. It is. Get over it.
When we say neoliberalism, we don't mean just America, but also there's so many things that are clearly American. It is an influence.
Can I just tell you right now that neoliberalism was also Canadian. It was also French, from the French, not from the Canadian French, which we're all famously thinking about right now. It was also Australian, English. Get over it. It's just that no one gives a shit about what we did as neoliberalists. They just want to talk about what the states did. So it is what it is.
I do think there were some comments that were very insightful and are going to add to how we have a discussion about it for sure.
And the next thing that I'm going to say is how much fun I'm having running around the comment section. See me talk. Let me pop off, baby. That was the 6 things. I'm done them. New conversation. I got to watch the size comparison video and I just got to turn on a video about One Piece and just like, boom. When I was done, I had a little tear in my eye and I was like, oh, so excited. Everyone is obsessed with me watching Melon Tea and Murphy. Yeah, I'm super excited to see some of Murphy's stuff now.
I think her analysis videos where she talks about literary inspiration are fantastic. And like as a booktuber, absolutely using her skills fantastically.
Can you tell that I'm on a bit of a high right now?
I can. You're in this.
I'm not concerned at all. Everyone has been freaking out. I've been seeing things online that are saying like, I'm freaking out. And I'm like, I wasn't freaking out at all because no matter what happens with Bonney, she isn't Joy Boy, dude. Joy Boy is a prophecy. Joy Boy is a thing that had to be created over such a huge period of time. She's not Joy Boy. She is an embodiment of joy. She's taking on a persona with her abilities. It's going to strengthen her and make her be a better person. Oh, Drawk, I remember the other thing we have to do so that I don't have to deal with the hatred.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Is she going to apologize about Bonney? No, I'm not. First of all the things I said in the last live stream, that's exactly how Oda wanted me to feel about the whole situation. Oda took us on a ride and he wanted to see Bonney and see her not caring for other people's safety. And people were like, are you going to apologize? I'm like, no, I was reading a piece. What do I have to apologize for? Enjoying the piece and getting into it in the spirit in which it was written? I don't think so. It would be the same as people being upset at people who thought she was hot and then finding out she was a little girl. They were dealing with the information they had at the time. You don't have to apologize as a reader afterwards for your interpretation of information you didn't have yet.
I also want to say, like, yes, there are children who are more mature than Bonney, who are younger, like Tama, but I want to say, like, Tama gets away with it because we know Tama's a child and that's not something we question, so it just seems like an admirable trait a child has. If you're going to have a character be revealed to be a child, they kind of need to be childish or it's going to feel like an asspull that they 100%. Were a child this whole time, which is why I think it's great 100%. Writing. And I think this was planned in a way most of the supernovas weren't, because way back in Sabaody and Marineford, you pointed out how Bonney seemed childish and not have control over emotions.
He had such deep intentional planning on this sucker. Well done. I just want to say to people, I love Bonney, and at no point are you going to hear me tell you how upset I am that she is embodying the spirit of joy.
Granted, according to basically every survey, the very vocal minority who hate this are a very small minority.
Interesting. Do you know what else? It's interesting reading this because, oh my God, am I going to get emotional? No emotional leakage. It's really interesting reading this. Damn it, I'm going to get emotional. Because Drawk has been trying to make me read One Piece for like 12, 13 years, 11 years, like a long time. And it's been so important to him. And he and I have been having like this war of attrition over the reading of One Piece. And the family will say at every event, stop pushing, stop pushing. So it was really cool to me because something that I've always said is I don't need my kids to be rich and famous. All I need them to do is look for joy. And all I want to do is live in joy too. For me, I have to be kind to have joy. I have to like who I am. I have to enjoy other people. I have to prepare for futures. Joy for me is so much more. So to come to this point where Drawk has been pushing for 13 years and have it be a story that is completely based around the concept of joy? Shut up. I just feel like right time, right place. So I just want to say, first of all, Heichka Drawk for taking your time to keep putting it at me. Knowing that he said to me, I'm so glad that you're reading this because one of my biggest concerns was that you would die and never have read a story that I knew would bond us and be so important to the two of us. And wow, what a magic to get to do it this way. So I just wanted to take a moment and say to everyone, Hatsepka, Siamnitsya for all of the people that we have on this journey with us and how much freaking fun it's been. It's been wild fun. And Heichka Drawk, I love you and I really appreciate all that you went through to make sure that this would be something we did together.
Me too. That's incredibly sweet.
Oh, everyone, that was Hulkaminum, and it means thank you, my honored and respected friends.
I don't speak Hulkaminum. I'm not cool like Mama Drawk.
Mama Drawk speaks such very little Hulkaminum that she's only partially cool. All right. So I'm so happy to be here. And here we are in the massive victory lap.
We're going to observe the cover page, move on. Cover page. Who's Emmet?
It means truth. Emmet is a Hebrew word that means truth.
Okay.
Can only pray that those at the mercy of this reason will be able to hear this message.
So you can only pray that the D clan will be able to hear the message, but you already...
Huh? What the?
Here's Yamato, heading on a pilgrimage, pelted with rocks by children who hate Kaido. Pretty fair, honestly.
Well, they're trying
fair, as in makes sense ethically, but...
There goes the boar. Watch out. He's really sturdy. Look at him. He'll smash the ship to pieces. We gotta flee. Boom, boom, boom. Bonney! I can't. Freedom is tiring.
It's great.
Joy boy!
She got like 2 punches and was like, I'm out. Wait, Emmet's the robot. The robot is Emmet.
Yeah.
You get his name? It's the name of a The robot comes out of the water.
Emmet's gonna bring some truth out on our asses.
This chapter proves a theory, guys. The elders didn't eat devil fruits. They actually are demons. Look at that boar willingly jumping into the sea to attack the boat.
100%.
It's not a sea serpent. It's a worm. It's a sandworm because there's a fire all around it. However, the boar was willing to dive into the sea. These aren't devil fruit users. They are demons. These are real demons.
Yeah, 100%. I can't believe that originally you were saying that people didn't think they would have power.
Oh, there was a lot of people who were like, I think they're just administrative. I don't think they're strong. However, I don't think even the people who thought they were strong thought they would be as dangerous as they are. Like, did you think they'd be this strong?
Yes.
Really? You thought this level of strength? I couldn't have imagined. Okay, here's the thing. I don't actually think they are stronger than Bigmom or Kaido, but the fact that the sea doesn't kill them, so they don't have devil fruit weaknesses and their regeneration, means I think they are more dangerous. I don't think they're as, like, destructively powerful necessarily.
I thought they had to be this strong because why do you have something that are named after the planets that are called the elders that there's only 5 of that sit in a weird special room, and then as it went through, they're the only ones that know about Emu, talk to Emu, and get orders?
We don't know it about the water for sure. That thing was leaping into the sea. I think they are devils. I think this is the proof. They were already introduced with just saying what cryptids, what mythological creatures they were named after.
They're definitely
without
devils.
it saying devil fruits. But then on top of that, that boar was leaping into the goddamn ocean.
Boar doesn't care. The boar is a real devil. Yeah. They don't care.
When have you seen a devil fruit user, even one who can breathe underwater, willingly leap at the sea? That's crazy. Luffy does it regularly, but he's an idiot. That's a good point.
And Brook does the runny runs.
This to me feels like the exact type of setup you would do to half-proof something, but it's huge evidence in favor. And he's been doing that the whole time, like not giving their devil fruits names. I think there's been so many teases of almost saying they're just real demons that I think it's intentionally waiting out how long you can go without explaining it. It's not proven, you are right, but I think it's just about.
You know what? I think Drawk does get stars and mushrooms now.
I get stars and mushrooms now? This is a great segue into my crackpot theory, shot in the dark theory based off the conventions of Japanese storytelling. The elders are demons who exist to represent and embody the corrupting influence of power itself.
That is literally one of those theories that you remember when you said there are some things that you were like, yeah, I guess it's a theory, but I always just thought, like, how could it be anything else? Mm-hmm. I don't think your theory is wild. Like, they call them the elders. They've obviously been around since the history of ever.
I always felt like they're immortal. I'm just going beyond that, and I think they were the servitors of the Lunarians too. Yeah.
I also think that they just always been there because I think they're some type of demon.
Yeah.
Also, I do think there was some moment of joy boyation however many years ago.
Someone else awakening the fruit 200 years ago.
I do think there was. I don't think it was just like a power source. I think it was a joy boy moment because lots of things had to go. Keeping in mind that Kuma literally had to go over and be like, I believe that this boy is going to be Joy Boy, Nika. So because of that, I'm going to do these things. And one of those things was, I'm going to put you somewhere where you can get stronger because you're not ready for this yet. And I'm actually just going to tell you, hey, I think you're going to be the savior of the world. Get the hell out of here and get stronger, right? So maybe the 200 years Joy Boy didn't have that. Didn't have those people. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. Do I get a diamond store for the prediction of Kuma's backstory when it hadn't been written yet?
It had been written. When you said Kuma's backstory would be the most tragic thing, it was in the middle of coming out. I don't think it's a diamond star. I think it's a gold star. Maybe a shooting star. You said it way back.
I'll give it a shooting star. I would agree.
The thing is, if we give out diamond stars too much, we're diluting their value, and the fact that you already have 5 or 6 of them is crazy. If we're right and the elders serve the Lunarians too, if those demons represent the seed of power and the corruption of power, that's a diamond star for us.
I would agree. And at the same time, I also feel like, how could it be anything else?
They could just be elders given powers, but it just doesn't feel like it. I feel like they are power itself.
That's exactly. Well, Emu is like a power itself.
And Emu was the one in charge with the Lunarians as well, because I think Emu was one of the humans who rebelled against the Lunarians.
Except for why would they then do everything for Emu?
Because that's what they are. They are corrupting power. They corrupted Emu and made him evil by giving him absolute authority.
But then I think also Emu is a woman.
Okay. I'm 50-50 on that one.
I might change my world to male later if I get new evidence, but my current evidence is like, that's a woman. So I just want to put this out there. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is just me saying subscribe. That's all. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1093. Luffy does my very favorite, where he grabs what's-his-face by the body and then spins him around in a helicopter. And let's just have a talk about Kizaru for a minute, because I've been having some thoughts about Kizaru. He has this place back further when we were in the last little section, studying the Void Century is a crime that even I can't defend, Sentamaru. I'm just another cog in the machine. That's its first thing, right?
Yeah.
Later on, there's this whole little sequence that he goes through where things are happening to him. And he talks about how he has somebody in the basement who's waiting for him, and he wants to do this one by the book. And then we watch when the things happen to Kuma. He says, "Thank you, I will gladly accept my fate if it means curing Bonney's disease." And we see Kizaru get teary and put his hat on and turn away. So we have, I think in total, there were 6 panels where Kizaru had things taking place around him that he clearly felt uncomfortable with the way that the government was handling things, but he decided to toe the government line, which makes me think that in the future, Kizaru is going to break.
I feel the same way. I think Kizaru is not unlikely to break. It's about whether or not it happens on Egghead. I also feel like the symbolism of one light following the sun and one cold following the black hole, admirals finding lacking of justice in the Marines and following their own path and joining pirates. I think I love whether he joined Luffy's crew or not. Following him as part of the fleet is something that I think is going to happen, which feels crazy.
I think it's inevitable, and I don't know if it's going to happen in Egghead or not. Part of me thought that that might be one of the get out of Egghead moments is Kizaru switching sides, because it would be good writing, but it would also be a little more predictable in the writing. You know what I mean?
It feels early, but there's not that much One Piece left.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, right. That's a good point. But for me, I started to think, well, Kizaru has to switch sides. Like calls like. He's the light of the world. So is Luffy. Luffy is the ultimate light of the world.
If Luffy's whole thing is inspiring people, this man needs freedom.
Yes.
Luffy gives people freedom. Like
exactly.
The same
and Luffy gives them agency.
Freedom. Yeah.
So
and that's
he
what
may
needs.
feel like he has freedom, but he doesn't have agency. I think that this is our sign that Kizaru is going to be not only switching sides, he's going to be switching sides just like the way other people follow Luffy. That people follow the light of the sun because Luffy is saying to them, you already have agency. You're in here because you think there's a form of justice, but you don't have to find justice from people who are at a corrupt source. Because remember I said to you that I think that the Navy is also just pirates. They run like pirates. That each of the ships in the Navy has its own captain who runs the ships, and that there's different levels of pirates, and that you see within the Navy that you also have the warlord level, and then you also have an emperor level, and then you have the penultimate kind of peace. And so I think the people who are in the Navy do believe that they want that freedom. They want that running around the world, pissing off bad guys and keeping people from doing bad things. And yet within the government, we see right away, we've said it, like since the minute I started reading this, I kept saying, like, I feel like there's just as many shit people on both sides and just as many good people on both sides, and that it's kind of weird how they look just the same. And I recently realized, they're basically pirates. They basically have the exact same structure as pirates. The difference is that they don't understand that they are being held in the thrall of these demons and emu.
Yeah, it's just the justification of power. The only thing that separates them from pirates is that they're the ones with power. They have authority.
Exactly.
It's the same reason that Bigmom and Kaido are able to justify their violence within their own kingdoms, because they have power there.
Exactly. That's why I think that Kizaru will have this moment, because they've said, like, in different ways, dozens of times, that the reason that they don't frame what justice is because nobody could frame what justice is to another person. And yet they just run around with that. And I've said before, of course the government would want the Navy to run around like that, because then you have a little bit of chaos and people don't have a predictable life, which means they're more afraid of the government and they're more afraid to step out of its bounds.
There is a need for people to see the power of the government as both something they rely on and a threat to keep order.
Precisely, which is the same way we have it now, which is why Oda likes to kind of highlight it.
And that's the exact same thing as Whitebeard claiming territory or Big Mom claiming territory as well.
Precisely.
You need to both depend on them and fear them.
Which is why I think it actually isn't as big of a leap as we make it out to be for Kizaru to switch teams. He's trying to be loyal because he does have a deep sense of justice inside of him. You can tell. And that's what he's decided to hang his hat on here, is his word to his job and to the people that he serves with, and that he has decided that he is on the side of right. But when he sees what the elders are and he watches what takes place, there's no way that there isn't something inside of him that has a shift.
Obviously, Kuzan could just be planning on betraying Blackbeard. But if he isn't, or even not, he's clearly using him. Whether or not he's going to betray him, he's clearly using him. He is using him to pursue his own ideals of justice. And it just feels like it would be thematically weak writing if this torn, mentally broken man didn't follow the same path as Kuzan, but with the opposite of Blackbeard, and feel inspired to break free of his imprisonment and find agency. Like, if that didn't happen, it would feel like it's not taking advantage of the symbolic storyline we have. So
yeah,
like,
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think Kizaru will switch sides. I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's in the next one. I would do it now if I was Oda, when I think about how I would write this, just to get it out of the way and make it like a little bit more shocking. I think if you drag it on too much, it'll start to become inevitable. But he might have other plans.
I think I would do it this arc, but I would do it at an all is lost moment where it genuinely feels like we've used all of our options and things are going down. Bonney is about to die.
Yeah, I agree. And because I think that Bonney's relationship with her dad and Bonnie's story has pulled something deep inside of him. And I think that's why Bonney becomes his breaking point. I think that's why I would do it that way if I was him.
It just feels right. But does Bonney join the crew? I believe she is the ship apprentice, and I think the reason is very simple. Why was Tama not invited? The same reason Luffy wasn't invited to join Shanks's crew.
Too little.
Pirates aren't just going to take in children. They're not just going to be like, hey, child, come on board our violent criminal vessel. But Shanks as a kid and had nowhere to go. There was no safe place for him to be, so he was Roger's apprentice. Where in the world is safe for Bonney?
Exactly. Only on the ship.
The Revolutionary Army, maybe. Elbaf, maybe. But she'll become a preacher for Luffy. That's not what Luffy wants. It feels more like it would make more sense for her to follow the sun god. She's pursued freedom. Literally pursuing the essence of freedom feels like it makes sense.
Her dad has been talking about the idea of Nika and what Nika is and why Nika matters to the world and how Nika would make change. Her getting to personify some of Nika's uniqueness and be part of that spirit, to her must be like a godsend to freedom. She did find it exhausting. She finds freedom exhausting. It's kind of interesting to me that anybody could see Bonney not going on the ship. Because of the thing you said, like, where in the world is she actually safe then?
Kind of Elbaf, but that's not as safe as the Straw Hat crew, I honestly don't think.
I would agree. The other thing is that Kuma's going to need to be on the move. We don't know if he's going to die in a fight. We don't know if he's going to get any memory back, but he's going to need to move nonstop, and Bonney is now not going to want to be separated from him if he's alive.
There's three things from chat. First of all, someone's like, but what about Buggy? I think the fact that Buggy was on Roger's crew and the fact that we have seen that Shanks has an ethical belief that you can't just take children if they have a safe place to go is proof that there is a reason Buggy was on the crew, that there was a reason that kid had nowhere to go and we just don't know it yet. Next thing, someone asked if Bonnie's their Shanks, what's their giant egg? You saw Sanji feel free wearing a dress. He's the crew egg.
Kind of weird though that we keep talking about what's their egg, and then this is Egghead Island and we have eggs coming the whole way through.
The giant egg would be Lilith or Atlas, whichever Vegapunk they make it out with, because they're connected to Egghead.
Or just Egghead in general, the giant Egghead, that's their egg.
Yeah,
because they took it.
Yeah, which means the egg probably had promise, honestly. Like, let's go symbolism diving.
But I think you and I need to do a egg piece, because I'm starting to think that the one piece at the end is going to have an egg related thing.
Can I tell you the absolute heartbreaking thing I think is going to happen with that real quick?
I don't want to, but yes.
I think Kuma is finally going to die, because when we see his fruit in the past, it's fairly round and tangerine shaped. And I think it'll reincarnate as a tangerine. There's a lot of theories people have done looking at the number letter thing that Japanese can do to realize that Kuma's fruit should be on the Straw Hat crew. I think Kuma is going to die finally after getting to have a moment of seeing Bonney free and saying goodbye. And I don't think you introduce the idea that devil fruits remanifest on a nearby fruit and you don't make use of a fruit tree on the sunny. I don't think you do that.
I hate you for saying it because I was thinking like, absolutely, grow Nami some tangerines. But we keep saying it in this story because the story is so long. Chekhov's gun. You know, it doesn't make sense not to make use of tangerines.
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know that Kuma's fruit was
round. We see it and
shaped.
it's round. It's a little too big, but I don't know. It's so exactly like citric. It doesn't look like when we see it like it would be a pineapple or whatever.
We need to do an egg piece because there's an idea I'm hatching. If you don't laugh at my hatching jokes, we're never going to be friends. So I start to think after I was shown all the egg areas and some of the egg things that were going on, I went back and then Egghead Island and the idea of an egghead being somebody who is a nerd, but also eggs are always symbols for new beginnings and fresh starts. That's why we use them in spring. And so I would love to do an egg piece thing because if it ended in a kind of an egg bit, I think it would be perfect.
Interesting. Okay.
Who do I hope gets the fruit? Well, first of all, I'm going to stick to my prediction that our next crew member is going to be female because it's going to be Vivi for a while.
You see, you think it's Vivi? Do you think Bonney, the crew apprentice, would count? Because I think it's Bonney. I think jewelry.
Oh, Bonney is going to be on our ship. I already told you that. I just don't know whether or not do we count an apprentice as apprentices as crew members? Yeah. Then I will be right anyways. We will still get a female. She's an apprentice, but she's also impressive.
However, it makes sense for One Piece to have an apprentice who's very strong because, like, it feels like part of the crew dynamic that Usopp would be the weakest crew member for as long as possible.
Who would I hope gets the fruit?
So I used to be team Usopp because of his fighting style. I agree with you that thematically another Straw Hat makes more sense.
I think it should be Nami. The pawpaw fruit given to Nami when Nami is a navigator and the pawpaw fruit lets you navigate people to any place that you choose has this really cool feeling to it where Nami would get to direct people to the places that she wants them to go. And they haven't over-strengthened Nami. Nami has been given like her little weather thing, which is cool. And she got herself a friend / slave at first, but a friend now. But that isn't a big blow up of power. Whereas I really think Usopp had a really big blow up of power. He's not only a tinker and a creator, but he has all those special abilities with plants. And I think that's incredible. So for me, do I want Vivi back? 100%. Do I believe she should get the pawpaw fruit? No, I don't. I don't want it to be Vivi's. I want it to be Nami's. No. I want a person who navigates people to destinations to be the person that navigates bodies to their own destination.
Now, I have another thought that I just came up with. That this isn't evidence, this isn't a theory, but just musing. A big thing that I find disappointing about Nami having the fruit is it makes now her navigation's too easy. She can just like calculate where she needs to go, send the crew there. However, you keep thinking they need to go to the moon.
Yep.
And the idea that it would take the world's greatest navigator to calculate the trajectory and speed of launch and timing and aiming needed to paw the Thousand Sunny to the moon is kind of crazy, actually. That's kind of crazy. And when people are like,
what do you mean Nami directing people's bodies? Well, literally, we saw Kuma put people in different parts of the world, directed their bodies to be in different places. I think Nami thematically being able to take our kids up to the moon, to move us anywhere she wants to go, to create weather there. I also wonder if she could like stick lightning within them. Like there's all sorts of things she could do. And it's her tangerines. And it is her strength from her mom. So it would be a mom to daughter. And that would be wicked.
Oh, man.
I think Nami is the perfect pawpaw fruit. Nami has not been the strongest person. She's been the weakest person on board. Imagine if suddenly she had one of the strongest devil fruits.
I will say, let's give credence to the Vivi theory, because there's a few things here. Also, the leader of a nation, like Kuma, prevented the nation from being taken over by an evil person like Kuma.
Keep in mind that he was made the leader as a joke, whereas Nami has an ancestry that goes back to the original.
No better option. I know.
Yeah.
look, it doesn't fit perfectly, but then the biggest reason why people want Vivi and why Vivi makes sense is currently Vivi's fighting style is little bladed rings that she spins around a little bit.
Yeah, I don't care. I
Style
still want it to be
at the
Nami.
moment.
So I want it to be Nami for all those reasons. And then on top of it, I want it to be Nami because that's who he met his wife as. So I think it'd be pretty cool if he gave his wife's character such a cool fruit. You can do what you want, but I'm predicting that if Kuma passes, Nami should get the fruit.
Yeah, people are saying it doesn't fit Usopp at all, and thematically I agree, but I think for a sniper duel of Van Augur, him having something that lets him effectively teleport is actually really cool. That is the main reason I want Usopp. So if it's Usopp, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm going to join you in saying Nami.
Thank you. I'm glad. I just feel like a navigator having the pawpaw fruit is the absolute. And then a navigator having a pawpaw fruit that looks like it's a clementine. Shut the front door, allow Nami this win, and then wait to see what my girl does. So we have a fight. It's a fight between Lucci, who is, a person I hate, and Zoro, who is a person that I effing love. And here is my favorite line in it. If this is the best you can do, I wouldn't expect to get a shot fighting our captain. And then Bobby goes, we'll see. But the number 2 of an Emperor of the Sea is more than worth killing on his own. And I was like, that's right, biatch. That's my boy. That's my boy Zoro, number 2 of an Emperor.
Hey, let's be real. Character growth. Lucci acknowledges Luffy as an Emperor now.
Exactly. Also, character growth. Bobaroni is sitting here and realizing that our boy is a tough nut to crack. You got it, Bobbert. You got it, Bobbert. You know what side your bread is buttered, and it's buttered toast, biatch, because you were going down. When Kuzuro turns himself into all those bits and pieces, it also made me think about the idea of chi and energy. And I need to do, I'm putting it on my list, I need to look up more on Chi. When he came flying back at Luffy in little light particles and was all these bits and pieces of power and lightness, I thought that was another time for me when I was like, oh, you change inside, biatch. Because whether you like it or not, your power is light, your power is Chi, and your Chi is in disbalance right now. One of the reasons I think that he is going to go and change sides. Also, I just want to put out there that I really like Dawn Stamp.
Yes, there's more evidence of him changing sides here in that all of his attacks are named after sacred divine light, and he's fighting a sun god, like the light of the Emperor or other sacred Amaterasu-inspired light.
Yeah, exactly. So, baby, there's so much coming up. I like that everybody's eyeballs are now going.
People are so sick of it because of how used it is.
The eyeballs?
Yeah.
I like the eyeballs popping out on
take
people.
That he's overusing it. I'm fine with it. I don't have any qualms.
I like his eyeballs popping out. I think it's funny when he burns Luffy's eyes when he's in his Joy Boy thing, because I just thought no. If you were the sun, I think the light should have shot in him. If this was my writing this moment, the light should have shot in him, and then Luffy should have gone, "Oh, my eyes, it burns." Just kidding, I'm the sun, bitch.
But we've talked about how he's very symbolically the sun, and he doesn't seem to have any light powers.
I'm aware. It doesn't matter. That's what I want.
But also, Luffy doesn't know he's the sun god. He's like, I'm just free, bitch.
I'm a free boy. When I saw this land of Egghead, I never said this before, but all I heard is, and this won't mean anything to the majority of you, meet George Jetson.
Everyone knows the Jetsons.
His son, Elroy, came to Japan, by the way, in 1968. And so for 100% for sure, dude definitely jetsoned his land here. Bonnie's outfits are really wild once you know that she's a tiny baby.
I like the idea of it being something that fits differently, something that fits her when she's little, because it feels like almost a hint. However, the implication is uncomfy.
Yeah, I don't like it. Listen, I'm sorry, but if I spend all my time on you, I can't fulfill my mission. Yeah, but that's my mission. Hey, wait up. I love Luffy chasing after him, and I love that there's the Kuzuro-Luffy fight while there's the Zoro-Bobbert fight going on. It's the perfect combination of strengths, but they do it a lot. They do it a lot where we have two strong fights like that going on side by side with our Straw Hats. But this one I've been waiting for because I don't know if you've heard this. I don't like Bobbert, so I'm happy to have him.
You've had moments of expressing that you maybe don't like Robert Lucci.
I think Bob has got a lot of issues that I don't enjoy. He fights for the wrong side. He's a bit of a dipshit. I know that he's had a hard background. He did. He had a hard background.
Psychopath.
But yeah, he went in a completely different direction. But we need him, and the reason that Bobbert needs to be there is because he is our reminder that Luffy, with his difficult background and with his hard life and the strength that he has and the power that he issues, could have become a Bobbert. But one of the reasons that Luffy didn't become a Bobbert is that he was lucky enough to be able to have the type of personality that drew people towards him. Kids who have had really, really hard lives, and because of that, because of their trauma, they push people back and they don't let people come towards them. And so they don't end up getting those influences and mentors that they need. And then you have those people, those children who have had equally difficult, hard beginnings, but they have a charismatic personality that draws people towards them. And therefore, people want to help them get better. And people want to help heal them. It makes me really sad, even though I hate Bobbert. Don't get me wrong. Bob can go suck a barrel of dry Tide Pods. But he is, to me, kind of that idea that when you think personality doesn't matter, or it doesn't change the way that you live your life, or when you think that trauma can't completely redefine a person's destiny, you look at him and you realize that that could have been Luffy. He's got that strength, that power. He's got that tragic kind of beginning. And yet, Bob's got kind of a complex and has become a sociopath and an asshat. Whereas Luffy ended up wanting to draw more people to him and help to give them the freedom and the lives that they all dream of, because dreams matter. Bob's the exact opposite. Bob doesn't give a shit about anyone's dreams. Bob only gives a shit about Bob.
He just wants to kill.
Exactly. They're literally the opposite. From difficult beginnings, Bob ended up becoming a self-center, and Luffy became a person center, an everyone center. And so I think it's pretty cool to see them in juxtaposition, but I still hate Bob. I love that we are getting to see the summoning circles in this one, but tell me.
Yeah. Hey, wait. Guys, do we get a diamond star for Mama noticing magic circles that are used for teleportation? Like, obviously, you were a little bit wrong about them because you thought they'd be used for the full government, but like, we do. Yeah, everyone's saying diamond star. Diamond star given for
like
teleporting.
This is a word.
Magic circles.
Yeah, baby. This one I like.
Can I explain? Because there's a little bit more cheekiness of how you did that than you, I think, understand.
Then I understand?
You happened to reach Jaya on the same week that we saw Saturn teleport to the island, and I know you are the kind of person who could catch this, which is part of why I said there is nothing that you should overlook. Fine-tooth comb, if there's any part of the story to look over as detailed as you can, it's this one. You did say that. Now, I never draw your attention to that panel. I never was like, hey, check this out. I was never like, hey, scour this chapter in particular. You did all the work, but I did tell you, because this chapter came out just as you were reaching Jaya, the magic circle happened and everyone went back and saw this as you reached Jaya.
I knew magic circles were going to be huge when I saw them on the wall, but it's also the reason, and you should tell me to go over Jaya with a fine-tooth comb anyways, because Jaya and Skypiea are so underrated. If I need to go back to anything, it would be go back to Jaya and Skypiea and do a little more look.
Well, looking over Jaya with a fine-tooth comb is also why you were able to understand the warlords as a system, or so the emperors, before they were introduced.
Also why I started to ask questions like, what are we hiding? And how I think that we separated two kingdoms of people and put them up.
Yeah.
I also think people with wings are going to be way more important than people think. I also think eating so much is going to be way more important than people think. Like, there's all sorts of things. And when I saw those things on the wall, it's also the reason why I thought those little bastards were so strong. When I saw these on the wall, I was like, oh, summoning circles, magic circles? Shut up. These dudes are built different. Like, this is going to be some scary ass people.
Truly built different. My other theory, because you talk about Jai reminded me of this, to why I think Emu is not one of the demons and is whoever took over that they serve, is they can be telepathic with each other and not Emu. They have to speak to Emu, and they don't have to speak to each other.
But I also think that could just mean Emu is on a different plane. My only reason why I'm like, is because, was it Lily from Alabasta?
Yeah.
Why is he mentioning Lily, right? Like, they just stuck Lily out on the floor and then walked away from it?
To me, that's more evidence that he's human.
And that's what I'm saying. That would be my only wonder there, if she is human.
Interesting. I think so. We'll get into that when we do our theory episode.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think Saturn might be one of the scariest MFers ever made with his bullhead and his spider's body. I hate him. I've done some looking up at him. He's disgusting. Everybody's scared of him.
It's also wild how much he committed to ruining one man's life.
100%. I don't see them as being at all, like even a little bit human at all. Everyone is like, do you think that Emu would have big tits? You've seen that it's kind of a flat-chested look. So
I think if Emu's a woman, the tits are big because it's Oda. Have you seen this earliest silhouette for Bigmom and Kaido? When the man makes a silhouette, that's because he hasn't decided yet.
When Saturn said, think of human lives, and by the way, he said this in a panel, I think, that connected to him being with Kizaru, which is why I also think Kizaru will have a turnaround. Think of human lives as nothing more than insects. They will always breed more to make up for any loss. That doesn't feel like somebody who is a dragon.
The celestial dragons, like, it doesn't feel like someone who's like, symbolically, I am different than you. It feels like the statement of someone who truly is different.
This is an actual being like, it's easy to just think of humans as insects. Like, don't worry about it. They'll die, they die. They'll make more, they breed. And sees it as something completely different than what it is.
I agree with what you're saying, that like the comment that they'll breed and make more makes me think whatever he is doesn't breed and make more. That when they die, it's forever. They are irreplaceable. There's also only so many of what they are.
They are created or made or brought into existence, whereas humans breed and make more. Like, it's such a different feeling, you know? And that kind of makes me feel like I also thought it might be one of the reasons that Kizaru would change, because Kizaru would see kind of these types of lines and actions and be like, shit, like this thing isn't a human. It's not just a dragon who rules the world. I'm on the goddamn wrong team.
Which is why I like them being power itself, them being something that serves whoever's in charge. Because power isn't human. Power is a corrupting force outside of being human that makes humans evil, or at least give in to their worst selves.
Yeah, I don't think they're at all people-y.
My other evidence to why I think they are just servants of whoever has power is when Emu says, because it's nearby, when they ask why he wants to destroy it, they're just like, yeah, totally. Guys that smart and wise just rolling with it, I feel like that's because their job is to roll with it. They exist to roll with the whims of the man in power, of the woman in power, of power.
Yeah. When Luffy catches up to Kizaru again, and it's a small thing, but it was meaningful to me when big old Franky screams, please, Luffy, do something. Because it just made me feel like Franky, who's huge and powerful and in such a big part of this crew, understands what Luffy is in comparison to everybody else. Like, you've got something very, very different. And it also felt like Luffy running into that captainship in a very different way. Like, you want to be the pirate king, and this is a recognition of how powerful you are. When you have somebody as powerful as Franky being like, you do something, Luffy. Luffy's star gun is kicking ass. Love that it actually makes stars off of it. Go to town. Even when Luffy goes, and that's my limit, and collapses down to the ground. The Vegapunk thing was amazing, but the reason that I was so happy that Bonney got her way, and for everyone who's being spazzy, Mama still likes Bonney.
Guys, it hasn't been revealed she's 12 yet. Of course Mama Drawk is not treating her like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and I said she's very immature for an adult, which is exactly what Oda wanted. The way that I interpret her with the information I had, Oda would be like, yes.
That was my goal as author.
I have killed it. Interpret that. When we got our Luffy Luferson on the ground with Vegapunk and Franky, and then Bonney comes in and tries to fight a freaking Saturn and stabs him. God, this was such a Luffy moment that it was this and a few other moments that we'll talk about that I was like, screw everyone. Did you see Franky standing up and trying to stab one of the elders? Did you see anyone else running in towards the elder? No, you saw a little girl who aged herself up take a sword to his chest, who fought exactly the same way Luffy does. Full out, full chaos, putting herself in front of everyone else because she knew that was the only way that there was going to be any attention taken away from people who were vulnerable at the time, because she believed in their freedom. And I was like, how dare anyone question her being able to have that change. She acts the way that Luffy acts. She fights for the freedom of others. She's bringing joy to people. She's beyond brave.
I just had a thought that this is the second time very recently we've had the theme of responsibility taking away someone's childhood.
Yes.
Of a devil fruit being used to embody the concept of someone giving up on living as a child for trauma and for struggle. Bonney for her own struggle for her, and for Momo for his country.
Yes. It happens a lot, the stealing of childhood.
Yeah.
That's really important. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it 1,000,000 times.
Have you?
That's like
crazy. 1,000,000 is so many.
It used to be. When Osamu Tezuka, who wrote Astro Boy, said that he wrote manga because he felt like children often had giant adult lives thrust upon them and couldn't prepare for them. And so he wanted to prepare them. This is like that. Big bad things happen to children. Children have hard, awful, terrible lives.
Oh my God.
And yet he shows the way that they overcome them and get help in different ways.
But not only that, someone was just pointing out that Luffy is weirdly the opposite. And I was like, yeah, kind of. But you pointing that out makes it so clear. Why? Because Luffy is this beacon that in this world that will take away your innocence, you can just choose to be that still and survive.
Yeah, you can choose innocence.
Power in that.
Yeah, because oftentimes people, and it's an interesting thing that people don't understand, that people who are funny are brilliant often. You can't be really funny without being really smart. I'm sorry. It's difficult to make jokes or land things.
I mean, you can be super funny while being dumb by accident.
No, that's different. I'm talking about intentional funny, not we're laughing at you. And often people mistake somebody who has childlike enthusiasm or who's weird or chaotic or strange as being stupid or incapable of doing things. And I think that this story shows Luffy is the best example of if you judge a fish by the way that it flies, it'll fail every time. He is a prime example of that, unless you're a flying fish. He's a prime example of that.
Even then they glide. They're pretty bad at flying.
They glide, blah, blah, blah. But I'm being funny, so bite me. So he is living his life in a childlike, beautiful, chaotic way while helping people. So he is choosing to be a person who is got innocence. Even with all he's seen, experienced, and done, there's something always about Luffy that still feels innocent. And so he chooses it. It's pretty cool. All right, here we go. Luffy's new dye down where he looks like a shriveled pig and his tongue sticks out of his mouth. Kind of like eggs, actually. Really gross.
The melty old man look?
The new melty old man look, he is a new level of ickiness. But on the other hand, having him be like this is so cool because he looks even more vulnerable than he used to, Like, in my opinion. And so, like, when Franky punches in and moves Luffy out of the way, his big old pruny body, and gets him out of the way, I was thinking about how it's even more, at this point, vulnerable. And so he will take himself right to the very, very end, and he will allow himself to become absolutely useless. Everybody needs to be there to protect him while he's healing up, but he still takes himself all the way to the end. I love that because it really talks about, how he just puts his body right out there without thinking sometimes, but he feels like he can because he knows that he can trust his crew. So he knows if he takes himself into dried up fig Luffy and then can't move his body out of the way, that somebody will be there to do it. He has faith in the people that he's created as a family. His found family has that much honor to him.
How much it drains him and how much for this form to work he is reliant on others is one of the many things. That is why I want to do a video on Gear 5th with you at some point, because I think thematically it's brilliant that this ultimate pursuit of freedom only exists with the support of others, because that's the entire theme of One Piece. However, I think for that reason we need to do our One Piece's political series before we can do that video.
Listen to me, One Piece isn't political, and I don't know why you have to go there all the time. It's just a nice little story about pirates. Can anyone else move? No, I can't. It's like being held down. If this is not science, then it must be devil fruit powers. Oh no, Bonney. You killed my father, Saturn. Kuma, you mean? He was born into a slave caste, which is another reason why I think it should go to Nami, because Nami was born into nothingness. The descendants of a clan that once committed a grave crime against the world, although we don't know who Nami's real parents are, so they might be weather witches. the last survivor of the extinct Buccaneer people. So we need to go into Buccaneer people because I feel like Buccaneer people were once born protectors of the actual warrior class. I think they might have been the protectors of the D even.
Well, we had different positions about that because I came up with a different theory to what I think they are. My theory for what the Buccaneers are, I don't think Lunarians are naturally hashtag like that. I don't think nature made them indestructible super people with furnaces of energy on their back. I think they had great genetic engineering powers given to them by the scientific teachings of the elders, the demons who helped them guide this along. They figured a lot of it out, of course, but I think they had help from the elders because they were the kings of the world. They were the gods. They made themselves like that. We see other little hints of where they could have gotten their powers from. We see that they have the red eyes and white hair of a mink in the full moon. So I think they took the genes that made the Sioux long and they built it into themselves along with a lot of other genes. Now, what does that mean the Buccaneers are? I think that the Allied powers being called what they are, sounding like the Allied forces, the good guys of World War II, is not unintentional. I think they were the good guys trying to overthrow power. Why are they the bad guys now? Because I think Oda is making a statement of the liberators of old becoming the hegemony of the new age. I've said before that I think the closest real world representation to the Marines is the United States Navy. If they were not the hegemonic force that they are, it's not like piracy is impossible now. The reason there's so little of it is because there's a giant super military keeping it in check. I believe that the Navy represents hegemonic power of liberators of old becoming the controllers of today. It still exists, but guys, it is so much less than it used to be through most globalist eras of humanity. You have to acknowledge that. It is incredibly insubstantial. I believe that the Lunarians were not good guys. I think there were good Lunarians. I think that's why they believe in Joy Boy. And I think as they started to be dethroned, they joined the ancient kingdom, the alliance of nations who have given themselves to Joy Boy to follow his example. The ones who have joined this kingdom of united forces. But at first they were the dominators. And slavery is such a theme, and they are so gifted with genetic engineering. I think that the Buccaneers were a genetically engineered race of slaves who served the Lunarians. That's what feels right to me. Could I be wrong? Yes. However, this is my assemblage of information that kind of makes that slot into place for me. And I think Joy Boy was a Buccaneer. I think he had to go against the Lunarians, the old gods of the world, or he wouldn't have been a pirate. They're called Buccaneers, so I think they're named after Joy Boy. I think Joy Boy was a slave of the Lunarians who freed himself and became Joy Boy. And I think the reason there are Lunarians who joined the Ancient Kingdom was that he didn't hold a grudge. He wasn't evil. He didn't think all of them were terrible. He thought the power was terrible. The way that when Luffy shows up and there's a problem, he goes after people in positions of authority. Anyways, that's all.
I think the Buccaneer Nation most resembles Haitians or Haiti, and that would make sense since they would be around the Caribbean and kind of like the historical center of piracy. So it's where we cross over a lot in our ideas, because I think the Haitians were fighting as they were a slave to nation. They were fighting for freedom. And I believe the Buccaneers were also fighting for freedom. And in this, they're saying that the Buccaneer people created piracy as a way to become free in a world where they were enslaved and kept captured. And because of that, they made themselves become free by creating this idea of piracy, of having strength and movement, because movement is everything. And one of the reasons that they would have then changed the world of One Piece is because the pirates, who started off as the Buccaneers, and Joy Boy would definitely be a Buccaneer, had too easy of movement around the world. It's still considered very difficult to go down the line. So they had more movement, and freedom equals movement and communication. And so that's why I think that for sure Joy Boy would have had to have been a Buccaneer. But I think that the Buccaneers were also some type of guards, or that's the wrong word, more like Luffy in the way that they were protectorates and that they helped to free other people. And so mine lines with yours. I just would like to add that for me, I think that the Buccaneers would have been people who were moving throughout the water in their pirate lives, actually creating freedom amongst others, that they were a type of liberator.
I think that these fit together perfectly. Like, I think you can do both easily.
I think they actually do.
I want to answer, people were talking about Blackbeard being a Buccaneer. I brought this up with Mama Drawk, and then I went back on it. And the reason I went back on it, and I'm not saying it's for sure wrong, but I think the mysteries about Blackbeard need to answer multiple things. You will notice when I critique theories, I talk about how, like, I believe something needs to cleanly answer multiple questions to be likely. Why do I think I was wrong that an awakened user of the light fruit made the permanent sun around Eni's lobby? Well, because we now know the hole was made by the laser, which is why I think it makes more sense that Mama Drawk is right, that it has something to do with dimensionally locking that space. It also explains why the hole can't fill. It explains why the sun is always up, because this area is suddenly locked in one point of time. So Mama Drawk's dimension theory makes more sense there because it answers
multiple questions. Call it by its
real
name. Dimension piece.
Sorry, dimension piece. I think dimension piece makes sense there because it answers multiple questions with one answer, which is how I think good theories should work. The reason Buccaneer feels weird for Blackbeard is because we know Kuma sleeps. Now, he could just unrelated be a Buccaneer, that's fair. Him being a Buccaneer as the answer to why his body is strange, as the answer to why he can have 2 devil fruits, feels wrong to me just because it doesn't explain why he can't sleep. For figuring things out around Blackbeard, I would want a theory that answers multiple questions. And I feel like Buccaneer answers, as far as I can see, basically nothing. And he's too short. Blackbeard's only 11 feet. Also, Buccaneers, like Kuma and his dad, have heads proportionate to their body. Tall humans in One Piece don't. Doflamingo, the Admirals, Whitebeard, and Blackbeard have small heads proportionate to their bodies, which makes sense because as people get taller, their heads don't get much bigger. But the Buccaneers and Giants have heads proportional to their frames because that's just how big they are. So that's another thing.
I think that our ideas align with each other, but I think that the Buccaneers are definitely supposed to be Haitians. I think they started off as some kind of group that was in oppression because of their strength, that they were able to use them for their strength, and that they had been used as bodyguards or just people who did physical labor, and that they rebelled, and in their rebellion they created the joy of freedom, that they understood freedom in a very different way, so they traveled creating freedom for others.
Oh, I also saw someone say that they felt like Joy Boy was allied with the ancient nations of old. I have been thinking about it. I think the ancient kingdom was a bunch of nations that, like the way nations are pledging themselves to Luffy now, whether he wanted them to or not, because they are inspired by him and want to follow the 4 seas in the world. Yeah, I think it's looser. I think it's just nations that wanted to join. I think the nations, the allied forces that took over, were not necessarily allies of Joy Boy. Maybe they worked with him at a time, but I don't think they were part of, because we've seen most of the groups that are part of Joy Boy's alliance, the people he gave poneglyphs to, aren't human, but there are human groups like Wano and Alabasta, but it's all humans who became the world government. So I think they might have worked together, but they were unrelated factions for the most part, other than having a crossover with Alabasta. And I believe that when the allied powers took over, the demons of the world offered their leader Emu power. They offered him the ability to reign immortal, etc., etc. Whatever it is they do, the elders, I believe, are demons who offered power to the ruler of the alliance, which was Emu betraying the alliance by becoming the one true ruler.
Yeah, my thoughts aren't full on that one yet. I'll get there. It shows Bonney. Ever since I was a boy, I wanted to be a hero who could save the imprisoned and the suffering. That falls in my line with the Buccaneers, that idea. Yep. This is also why I think it fits into the Buccaneers idea. Just like Nika, the warrior of liberation. Like, why do the Buccaneers know this? Why does Kuma know this? He's a Buccaneer. And why do they know this? Because on their history orally. Nika, that's right, he's my idol. He appears, by the way, Jin Drawk, if you don't think I've noticed all the dancing scenes in all the different areas for Joy Boy and how you did not give that away way back in Skypiea when I chose the fire, frickin' Jin. Was well done.
I did my best to keep
well done. He appears from the blue with laughter and this rhythm. Doom da da doom da da doom. And the rhythm matters so much, his heartbeat, that something in the final part that he wants of Luffy's dream is going to be around rhythm and song. It has to be, I've decided, because of his heartbeat being the beat of liberation. Also, I looked up Haitian drum beats of liberation, and it's a thing.
Okay.
Bonney, leave her alone. She's still just a child. Will he come and free me too? Of course. God, Kuma's history. The Haitians have drumbeats of freedom both literally and symbolically. Drumming holds significant place in Haitian culture, especially within the context of voodoo ceremonies, which played crucial roles in the Haitian Revolution. The rhythm of the drums were used to communicate, to rally people, to coordinate actions amongst all the enslaved Africans who fought for and ultimately won their independence from French colonial rule. The drumming became a powerful symbol of unity, resistance, and freedom. Tell me that doesn't sound like what we're talking about.
It sounds like what we're talking about. The idea of them being Haitian inspired, I think, fits really cleanly with what we've both been talking about for sure.
Yeah, and I think that the original Joy Boy being a Buccaneer makes all the sense in the world, and the Buccaneers being kind of loosely based on Haitian. When people talk about, like, it's not directly this, do you think an author just chooses inspiration from one single source and then only writes down that line historically accurate?
I think a lot of people do have that line of thinking where they assume when you're saying it's this, they're saying it's only this, which is never truth. Everything is everything.
It's more like
so many sources of inspiration.
This.
Yeah.
It's yes and. It's very much like you're in a theater group and you're doing improv. Yes and. It's the same with writing.
I regularly use symbolism. I love it. However, I will never use monolithic symbolism where something is a representation of one thing only because it's bad writing. When we say things definitively with the contextual understanding being that we are saying this is one of the things we believe it represents, not definitively it is exclusively this thing.
We've held off too long. It's time. It's time for sad time.
Sad time!
All right, here we go. 47 years ago, South Blue, Sorbet Kingdom. Sorbet Kingdom. Twomp, 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 twomp. It's a big, healthy boy. Congratulations. I'm so glad you've come out to see us at last. Kuma. Doctor? His blood? Don't worry. I won't speak a word of it. Da! He's a healthy boy. I'm sorry. Run for your life. The government agent just showed to the hospital. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's me. I'm the one who has Buccaneer blood. But my wife does not. Let her and my son go free. It'll be all right, dear. So I also think that Kuma's early life as a boy, being a slave with his dad, kind of goes to that idea with the Haitians that Buccaneers would have been used for major labor.
Yeah.
And then this moment, your mother's dead, son. She's in heaven now. But I think that she's better off that way.
I want to say very quickly, part of the reason I think, because this is evidence we're seeing right now, that I think they were genetically engineered is most of the time when we see people who are half something in One Piece, it gets very diluted. And yet, despite almost all of their species being annihilated, King and Kuma seem to be 100% Lunarian and Buccaneer, which suggests to me that their genes are modified so that all of the modifications are passed down to their children, which to me, that feels like it is the result of genetic engineering. It's my belief that Lunarians and Buccaneers are genetically engineered to have all of their modifications passed down.
Yeah, I could fall into that. Listen, Kuma, you are strong and you can survive this. Why? I'd rather be dead too. The warrior of liberation will come. So that's that ancestral passing on of information that I'm talking about, that you can't write the word of Nika down, but who is going to have the word of Nika? Well, it's going to come from the people from whom he came from.
I agree.
The warrior of liberation will come. He'll show up and he'll save you. Who? The sun god Nika. He's a legendary warrior whose story is told throughout the Buccaneer heritage. So throughout Buccaneer heritage, boom, we know.
Yep.
We know. One day he'll show up and take you under the sun, take you out under the sun to freedom of the sea. Nika is always smiling. And to the freedom of the sea also says, boom! This is a person who originally started out as a pirate. Nika is always smiling and laughing, and his rhythm brings laughter to the people. Doom, da-da, doom, da-da, doom. Pipe down! And then we go through, and we watch this child be taken. We watch him be taken by the celestial dragons. How dare you intend to kill my people for a game? And go to the frickin' island in God Valley. Oh, the manhunt of God Valley.
Incredibly fucked up.
Insane. And Holy Knight Saint Begarland Garling.
Yep.
Have I seen that bastard since? I couldn't remember.
You have. He was the old man that killed Saint Mosgard.
Oh. Oh, I hope bad things happen to these.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Holy Knights, and he is a piece of shit.
Yeah, I hope really bad things happen to him. Is he Shank's dad? Is that who Shank's dad is?
We don't know, but he has the same family name as Shanks.
Okay, yeah. and his face is Shanks' leg. That would make Shanks be like a super important family, which would make everything make more sense. Okay, so Kuma being put here, Saturn looking identical with the Buccaneer boy being caught, and then meeting Slave, Impero Ivankov, and Slave Ginny. This was so good, this little thing. This hunt, though, was some of the grossest things I've ever found, but was also accurate.
Yeah.
So in Canada, for instance, there used to be posters up in colonial countries such as England, etc., where they would advertise the best hunts at all. Hunt the ultimate predator, man. And then they would go out and hunt Indigenous people on the east coast of Canada. People paid money to come out and hunt women, children, and men. Then in the ultimate of disgusting, Canada pretends that the Beothuk people are extinct and there's no more Beothuk, which is a lie.
What? Are the Mohicans actually gone, or is that a lie?
No, they're still around. In insult to injury, colonial people came over and hunted them as if they were just wild animals without humanity. And then Canada said, hey, why don't we say that you were hunted to extinction so we don't even have to deal with land and title or rights?
They don't have to give them reservations because there's few enough of them left that they said they were.
Or truth and reconciliation or anything.
Oh,
well done, Canada. Slow cap.
Oh, no. You guys, you say North American colonialization is brutal. It's all brutal. Every single place has a different flavor of the brutality of colonialism.
Here we go. The hunt will begin in an hour. Run and hide, rabbits. But then we have... That was the treasure from Pirate Island, of course. They will come back to get it. Who leaked that information? Hey, they've got plenty of security. We didn't think that Roger would get involved. Lead with that next time. Now I'm going. This fight was wild. Mm-hmm. Wild. And then having Ivankov up on the rock and screaming out. They've concocted this sick murder game to drive off the inhabitants of this island so that they can take its resources. Would you believe that the 100,000 rabbits who live on this island will all be dead to the very last man in just 3 weeks? Is this real life or is this hell? That's a perfect question. But if we can survive the next 3 weeks, we'll be free. Stop dreaming, fool! The total number of survivors of all these games combined will be 0. But why would they tell us to give us hope? Because it's the hope that makes us struggle and run. What's fun about killing people who only fall to the ground in abject despair? Don't waste your time dreaming of salvation in this sick game. We have to escape the game itself. That was so Luffy, and that is so rebellion. That idea that you can't sit back and hope that everything will come to you. Hope is great, but you have to have hope. Like I've told you, hope is one of the greatest weapons. Killers use it all the time. But hope isn't enough. Hope without action is shit. Yeah. So somebody won't lose hope. A man's dreams will never die if it stops just being hope and it becomes actionable. And I think that was pretty amazing. And finding out about the fruits that were going to be available there, knowing that Kaido was going to get the one fruit. There were so many cool moments in this fight.
We talked a bit about how if Kaido got the hormone fruit instead of the dragon fruit,
holy shit,
the world was.
Can you even imagine?
The world dies if Kaido has the hormone fruit.
He would have never have needed to make smile fruit. He just would have changed everybody's bodies for fighting.
Yeah. Big Mom thinks she gave him the better fruit. No. No. We are blessed that he only got the dragon fruit.
Yeah. It would have been so wildly bad.
I love people pointing out that if Ivankov got the dragon fruit, the revolutionary armies would have a guy named Dragon and a guy who is a dragon, and they are not the same man.
Okay, that would have been awesome. Ivankov with the hormone fruit is pretty amazing.
Ivankov is not using it to make an army of murderous psychopaths who are on supercharged steroids.
I like that when they come to the island as pirates, they're just looking to steal things. They're just looking to come in and take the fruits. They're just looking. And then Roger's pirates come in. It's been a whole year. Do you have any idea how I felt all this time? No special privileges for the captain here, Roger. How he comes in just fighting. You can see the way that he gives zero shits about any of the dragons, of the other pirates, etc., 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 which just, it's all so Luffy, you know? And it's more evidence that it feels like inside of the devil fruit comes a portion of the person's dream, comes a portion of the person who was there before and had it before, which makes sense because you have to keep asking the question.
Are you on board with Roger had the gum fruit? Is that what you're saying?
No, but I'm just saying that when you look at each of the way that people fight and you see what happened, you can feel that people feel like they have a piece of the person who it came from. You and I talked about this. When people die, why don't the powers that come with them just go away? Why do you need there to be only one of each? Why is it that they go back into the same type of fruit? And what happens? Does it gain ancestral power as it moves person to person throughout the ages? Because I just don't think it stays the same. I believe hockey is the main component 100% to the reason why Luffy is able to become Joy Boy. It's the hockey that pushed him over the limits
Kaido
of power.
specifically said he had no fruit. Never mind then.
Different translation. See, this is why we need to read the scanslations, or as I'm going to call them because I think it's funny as frick, the scanties.
But it's scanlations. It's the word scan.
Is the scannies funny? No, but you know what sounds like panties? The scanties. And I'm gonna die on that hill.
Props for being unpredictable in choice of hill.
Listen, I think we all know that I wouldn't die on a normal hill. I'm gonna die on the wild hill. I'm gonna wild it out. It's gonna be a little of where the wild things are. And you know where the wild things are? They're on my weird ass hill where I'm dying with the scanties.
All right.
Let's read this page. The Buccaneer Boy, PPSS. This is Saturn. I don't know if you've heard this. He sucks. The Buccaneer Boy. Your only options are slavery and death. History itself chose them for you. History itself chose them for you. Slavery or death, which proves more evidence that they were slaves and grunt workers for them that then got freedom and now have been repressed by having to change the shape of the world itself and flood everything and lift things up.
Interesting.
Your only options are slavery or death. History itself chose them for you. Are you important, mister? It doesn't make sense that you're born important and there's no reason for someone to be born a slave. If I've got some kind of power, then I want to be like Nika and save as many of these unfortunate people as I possibly can, which is why you people will vanish for good. See? He says he wants to save everybody and be like Nika, and Saturn says that's the reason why your people need to vanish for good. We're taking you out because of this information you have.
Interesting.
I'm telling you. Sorbet Kingdom in the South Blue when he has the little things on his hand. Hands off. Liberation. Little pawpaw on me. Little pawpaw on my hand. So long, my friends. And he leaves. Poor Ginny. And finding out about Kuma taking pain out of people and then finding out that later that night he lays in bed and just gets filled with that pain and just takes it.
Because it'll go back to them if he doesn't.
Yep, he is a totally martyred saint. Taking all the aches and pains out of the oldies, and meanwhile Ginny is just trying her best to hold him together and sits and cries in the corner and nurses him. How he wants to get married to her, but she gets stolen by the pieces of shit. His life is just... It's just one sadness after another sadness after another sadness, and then making him in once Ginny is stolen from him and he's all alone in this world. This whole plan came from someone above him. If we want to fight back, we have to take on the whole world government. And then you won't escape, you sad imitation of a celestial dragon. He makes me boil with anger. The king's given in. The enslavement policy is no more. It's very Haitian, this whole thing here. It's Haitian, but moved around.
Not identical, but like it doesn't have to be for symbolism to be working.
No. And then you've got the freedom fighters led in protest around countries after their arrival of the great era of the piracy and the tragic fall of O'Hara. The group took arms. After the tragic fall of O'Hara is amazing because it really shows you how important Robin was to them when they met her. That they were like, you know, the fall of O'Hara was kind of one of the things that gave us the impetus to be a rebellion. And then it also shows you how important that it was that Dragon didn't show his face and let people know that Luffy was his son. And how Dragon was trying to protect Luffy, that he knew he had to fight to make a better world, to be the world that Luffy was going to be in. Being able to kill an entire group of people and decimate it, at that moment Dragon had to say like, okay, great. So do I really just not try to make this a place where it's safe for my son to grow up and to have a life? No, I've got to go out there and fight, which means that I don't even get to see my son. We're going to find out some history on Dragon. It's going to come out and we're going to watch him with Luffy's mom. And the Luffy's mom thing I think is going to be wild because A, it's being held to the end, and B, There is a reason that Dragon had to turn his back on the government and on the dragons particularly, and then called himself Dragon.
Well, Monkey D. Dragon's his name, right?
I know, but like goes by dragon, fights against the dragon. There's like a symmetry there.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say we got to put money on it. We each got to make a prediction right now. Now, hear me out. What rank do you think Dragon was in the Marines? I think he was an admiral.
Oh.
I think the writing around Garp and how much he doesn't want to be an admiral, and I think it's great symbolism if Dragon was an admiral and having to follow the orders Celestial Dragons broke.
The problem is that I'm not going to fight you on that. It just feels right.
Someone says Admiral feels too high, except he's the leader of the Revolutionary Army. He's the most wanted
leader
man
of the Revolutionary Army.
He could be that strong for sure.
And he also knows things that he shouldn't know unless he was high enough to know them.
Exactly.
That's a lot of no's. It shows why it would be possible for Garp to actually be a member of Sword on the side. I'm going to stick with Admiral right now, too. I'm actually not interested in fighting against this one. I don't think it feels wrong.
Okay.
He knows too much. He understands too much about the structure, the things that are available, the bad things that happened. He came up high enough in it that he got to see some of the stuff that just made him be like, this isn't justice.
Yeah.
And in order to be there, he had to be high enough for that to happen. And then it also really talks about why Garp was like, you're right. No, screw you. I'm not going to be a part of that. So yeah, I'm so damn sad about Ginny being stolen. I'll always love you, Kuma. Kuma, you're back. Is Ginny here? She is, but her face and body and all of her skin is turned blue and hard. So then he has to watch her die of this disgusting disease with these jewels all over her body, not be able to go out in the sun. And then she's got a little girl that didn't come from Kuma. Yeah. And then the little girl ends up getting these little things on her face so that he knows she's going to die when she is the center of his entire world. Yep. And then we see all the things that he does in the background as a fighter. And he goes out there and he's the one who picked Sabo up when Sabo starts fighting. And he's the one who is there when they take him on board. And then he finds out that there's a blue stone below her eye. And he's like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do, but I want to be here with her. And he has to give up all of the ways of making a better world for her so that he can be there for the rest of her life and try to find out if he can heal her. By the way, she's wild. Bonney age 5, giving everyone the bird, flipping everyone off and kicking them. This is a church, you idiot. And even going near the doorway makes me nervous. The fact that he could take her anywhere in the world and instead all she got to do was sit in this one room with him and that he made this room as big as he could for her. Like, I think about that a lot. Mm-hmm. God, this arc is so sad. But I think about how...
This backstory is the saddest we've had in One Piece. Everyone could argue what the saddest was until now, but this is heartbreaking.
Yeah, and so... this is the irony. The entire world is open to him in a way that it's not open to anyone else. He can send people anywhere, including himself. So the world is literally his playground. And his daughter only has a room. He has to make this one room the whole world. And the things that he does there. If you could go on a trip, Bonney, where would you want to go? And the way that he teaches her about Nika as if she's a Buccaneer, as if she is a member of Joy Boy's tribe. And so when people are talking about this idea that Bonney doesn't belong, do they remember that she was raised in the heart of a Buccaneer? That a Buccaneer took her under his wing and made her a Buccaneer? That he told her the stories of their people? And he talked about how Joy Boy was the ultimate in freedom? And he sang Joy Boy's drum beats to her? And that the sky would be a huge adventure? And maybe they would do that together when she was 20. And talking about Fishman Island. And creating this whole world for her in a way that's very, very, very indigenous. And he gives her all his wisdom, all his love, all his history, like she too is a Buccaneer. And he raises her that way, steeped in the legends and the memory of Nika, the sun god. And he creates an entire universe for her in a single room. And she is the ultimate captive, first through her sickness, then through his promise to get her healed from that sickness. And people are angry that she becomes the ultimate symbol of freedom.
I mean,
come on.
I think the issue is you're not used to this genre, and there's a lot of people who are reading it by how transformations are within this genre, which is a transformation represents a power-up that has been earned through something. However, power-ups in shonen are not just about being earned through training. They're about being earned thematically. You'll see that a lot. The greatest power-ups in a lot of shonen manga come from thematically being relevant, and that is more important to One Piece than the training side of things. Luffy became Joy Boy by literally giving his life for the freedom of a country.
I don't
That's the part that
disagree.
matters.
But she's never going to be the same strength as Luffy right now. She's an apprentice.
I think people
taking
genuinely
on.
thought she would be as strong as Luffy.
Is she growing in her hockey? Yes. Is she growing into her power? Yes. She's also a 12-year-old girl who was steeped in the stories of Nika and can change her form. It's shocking she would choose to look like Joy Boy. And how does Luffy handle it? By laughing and loving it, because Luffy knows that other people getting strong doesn't diminish your own strength.
Yep.
Other people becoming a beautiful symbol of freedom doesn't diminish freedom. It's the idea that by loving more people, you're going to love someone less. It's infinite. And freedom should be infinite.
One Piece takes itself seriously. But what taking itself seriously looks like isn't what that looks like for other media.
The incident that was known as the Solo Revolution of Sorbet Kingdom, unbelievable. Like, can you imagine Nami with that power? The incident would be known as the Solo Revolution of the Sorbet Kingdom, Sacred Marijois. I hear there's a new king in Sorbet. Strange. Who is it? Saturn really plays such a big role in this whole thing, eh?
He really does. He's got so much more presence than the other elders.
Which means that we're going to get other freaky ass shit from the other elders now, you know. Saturn is here because we're doing war in this way.
War is a different one. He is the godhead of science.
That's fine.
So him being Egghead makes so much sense.
Which means that we need to go back through and look at all the other ones and see where we think they will lay out. Because defense and science, thank you. That's why I thought that. Because he's weaponry, right?
Yeah.
And so if he's defense and science, which is weaponry, it would explain why he's so big in here. But that means we're going to have backstories and other effed up things with all the other ones. These boys now, these bad devil boys, they're going to come out and we're going to find out a lot of effed up crap. Unable to resist the pleas of the people, Kuma became the king of the realm. I think you can stop teasing me now. The one actually in control of the palace is Old Bulldog. I'm just a figurehead to make the people feel better. He is so adorable with his little ears, hey? With his little bear ears.
Did you know that Oda confirmed that's just a weird cowlick?
That's what it is? I thought he was wearing like a little headband.
Nope, his bear ears are a weird cowlick, apparently.
Oh, part of me liked that she had this fruit and that she was able to change her age, because I feel like it was really sweet for Kuma when he thought she was going to die by the age of 10 to get to see what she would have looked like as a grown woman. But then on the other hand, I started to think about what an absolute shatter that is, to know that she would never get to be that person, and to look at her and think to yourself that you are getting to watch who she would have been if the world hadn't have done her wrong with this disease, and know that she would never get to be that person. That, as a parent, that would be absolutely gobsmackingly bittersweet. So when he became king, I was like, I knew they were going to come after him and he was going to have to leave, because obviously, right?
This also ties into the idea when you call Luffy a terrorist, why it's kind of thematically poignant to the series, because we see this great man chosen by his people labeled a tyrant and known as a tyrant around the world. Even Jinbei was like, I hear you are a tyrannical monster. What people know of Kuma is that he is evil, and yet his people love him.
Once I'm 10 and I'm all better, I'll be able to be a pirate too. Him lying to her when the doctor came and said what needed to happen and that she was going to die. Him traveling the entire world trying to find doctors that would be able to save her, not listening. Ivan and Azumi were thrown into prison. And since I last saw you, you've been a king, a tyrant, and a pirate, eh? Dragon says. I must have come as a surprise to you. Nobody in the Revolutionary Army took those articles very seriously, of course. Hey, Kuma, can I be the captain of the Eastern Forces? Why ask me, Betty? Dragon says the position eternally belongs to Ginny until you give permission. So it takes a foul-mouthed woman to run the Eastern Forces? Yeah, I don't mind.
I love that. It does absolutely explain why Arlong got away with what he got away with, because it wasn't until Luffy's life that there became a leader of the Eastern Army, so they weren't organized. So we can forgive Dragon for not stopping Arlong.
And that's exactly what I said when I read that. I was like, okay, that's a little better. When Kuma brings her in the little box to take her to see the doctor, and his giant ass egg-shaped head, like that's big, right?
It's too big.
That's big. And he wants to make clones out of him, and his head is shaped like a heart, oddly.
A little bit.
Well, it is with the hair. There's no way around it. And then we go back into Sacred Marriage. I would like to make a deal with you to save Bonnie's life. Even if you were the devil himself, just save Bonney. You're a true saint. Clone soldiers are weapons, and weapons are valued, blah, blah, blah. Vegapunk would let the golden... So the whole idea of this didn't make sense. Like, why did they need Kuma for these things? And why was Kuma such a prize as being one of these army? And you're like, it's kind of weird. But then when you realize that he's one of the very few Buccaneers left, and the Buccaneers had this strength, and they're also stealing his abilities, that you're suddenly like, okay, this does make sense why you would want Kuma then.
Not only that, but the godhead of science and defense wanted nothing more than to control him.
Exactly. And so if you go through here and you're saying that he says, I'm just a weak-willed pacifist. And then he says, I like that. I think we'll use it for the name of my soldiers in the future. Ugh. Oh, the pacifistas. And that's why I think that Admiral Kuzuro is going to be changed, because he spends all this time. They make this deal. Kuma has to give up. A rookie named Ace, knocked out one of the 7, has been searching for a replacement. The pirate world is growing restless.
And now we get to learn more about Ace and the fact that he was taking out warlords like Luffy.
Unbelievable. I was like, are you shitting my face right now? Oh, the fact that they kind of became friends, that he understood Kuma's heart, that he saw him for who he was. He's a pirate worth blah, 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 blah. My second condition, Kuma, is that you must be a human weapon for the Navy. So, okay, I give up my whole entire life. You must ultimately abandon your mind and your free will. You piece of shit. And then when he's crying, he's sitting there sobbing, and you're like, I would also sob. And then it goes back down. Everything he has to do. You can't see Bonney. You can't have this. You have to give up your freedom. You're going to forget all your memories. And he goes, this is murder, pure and simple. To perform such an operation would violate human morality. And would you do it on me, Vegapunk? I was so worried that his demands would be impossible, and I wouldn't be able to save Bonney despite being this close. Thank you. I will gladly accept any fate if it means curing Bonney's disease.
He gave so much.
And without a thought, he's crying. Not because the conditions are too much, but because he can meet the conditions.
He doesn't even consider how... That's the thing. I've seen people kind of misread this as like, yeah, he's happy it's so little. No. He didn't care about whether it was little. He didn't care about any of that. As long as they were conditions he could meet, he'd be happy.
This is horrible. I can't believe how horrible any of this is. And after he gives in to all those requests, after everything, it would seem while Kuma is undergoing the augmentation process, he will reign over the seas as a warlord. You will be forbidden from contacting your daughter or escaping after the procedure. If you do violate that order, your daughter will be turned into a slave. I will never meet with her. I just have one request. I don't want Bonney to know about her disease or the fact that she's being held hostage. So I ask that once Bonnie's surgery is done, she not be held in some drab government facility, but in the comfort of the church in Sorbet Kingdom where she grew up. You promise me that I'll never visit her, and I will do exactly as you command me. Very well. And Kuzuro is sitting there with his head bent over, which is why, to me, eventually all these bits and pieces are going to creep into his soul, and he has to flip.
Oh yeah, you don't write a story of a man suffering this much with the beacon of freedom and personal liberty right there, fighting for the life of the people he cares about, and not do something with that as an author.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
If you don't, that's money left on, it's tragic, but it's money left on the table, which I feel like is not Oda's writing style.
Exactly. They eat together, they have pizza together, they dance together, they have fun together. He does the whole dance with them. You have Kuzuro in the dance that looks just like the one in the forests up in Skypiea. There's just no way. If you don't use that, you're wasting it. So here's the most amazing thing. Like, she's held hostage. It's bullshit. She escapes. That's all great. That's a whole thing on its own. He goes around, everyone thinking he's a tyrant. Everybody is talking about it. It's all around the world. We even go back and to see Luffy getting new orders. All that is great. But where my heart went is when we do a flashback and Kuma is now, he does Goa Kingdom, East Blue, and he's meeting up up and he says, "You seem extremely familiar with this particular nation. I couldn't help but notice you traveling to a little village at the end of the country and watching a particular young lad. Keep going if you want to see me killed." "What do you mean? Children are a vulnerability for any parent." "Pardon me, I'll forget everything I saw." And then he stops, and it's incredible because he immediately knows. And I do like that we also got to see Monkey D. Luffy saying, like, "I'm going to be so strong, but if anyone ever captures any of my crew, then I won't hold back." At 16 years old, I was like, that's amazing. And then we know that Kuma starts watching Luffy, which is also incredible. He takes Dragon's son and starts watching him as well because he understands how terribly horrifying it is to have all this love but not be able to see your child. So he takes on some of Dragon's parental love and he watches Luffy. Luffy feels eyes on him, and you know that he watches Luffy more than once. You can feel that suddenly Kuma was like, fine, now I have my eyes on two people. And Bonney never gets to have any of her letters, and you're crushed, and it's awful. And meanwhile, Kuma keeps going through the treatments. And then there's a celebration, all these wonderful things for Bonney turning older, and she doesn't get to have any of the letters. And your heart is breaking. But you know that he's just not seeing her, even though he's peeking through things and trying to see her. And she does her Nika-like future, which, by the way, Nika-like future is already her trying to determine what Nika would look like and turn her body into that. So we already saw this. Like, he forecasted what he was going to do.
It felt so much like something that was going to happen. Like, the people who don't like it, it couldn't feel more built up.
When she did the Nika-like future, and that's not even with her doing the dances, the seeped in history, the knowledge of the people of the Buccaneers. That's not even that. That's just her trying to determine what would Nika be like and make fighting moves for it was incredible. Her escaping and the people who used to be fishermen, I mean strong fishermen, but fishermen becoming her freaking pirate tribe. Her dressing up, she's wearing things that are ridiculous now that you look at them. The problem is that everybody in One Piece has like wild ass outfits. But when you look at her outfit, they more seem to be put together by a little
child trying to dress herself for sure.
Exactly, which is exactly what Oda wanted us to not see but see, so that when he revealed it, it became this beautiful thing. Getting to see Luffy first getting his bounty, and getting to see Ace go, "Jinbei, do you know whose little brother this is? He defeated Arlong's crew? This boy?" The answer is mine. He's my brother. And then you still see Kuma watching him over this time. What a strange twist of fate, Dragon. Both of our children are pirates. And just how ridiculous the beauty of that is. And her putting a piece of jewelry in her face so that her dad would know who she was. Because she knew what was going to take place. And she said to herself, well, then when I do find him, I want him to know who I am. And he's still going for treatments to have his memories stolen and to put away. Until the day that he is sent out to kill the Straw Hats and to kill Luffy. And he stands there looking at a boy that he's been watching for ages, that he's also been watching over like he's an uncle, helping to protect, because Dragon can't always be there. And he knows that if he doesn't do what he was told, Bonney is murdered or enslaved. And he still agrees to take the pain from Luffy. And if Zoro is willing to have it, that he will still turn his back on his orders from the government, which means that he puts Bonney in the worst danger. The amount of faith that he has in Luffy, that he may be Nika, the amount of love that he has for Dragon, that he would do this thing despite everything he's given up for Bonney, is absolutely wild. You have exceptional friends. He's your son after all, Dragon. That was one of the most powerful lines. And remember when I read it, I thought it was super powerful and I thought it was amazing. And I said, like, this is a good guy. There's no way. This is a good guy, that line. But I could not have imagined what he was putting at risk when he said that. He was standing there and saying to him, despite the fact that I may put my daughter, who I have given everything in the world up for, at risk, I cannot kill him. I cannot, because I understand just how important he may be in the future.
Yep.
And then Bonney eating everything. So we need to talk about this later, because I think the eating is going to be really, really important. I have a hunch.
Ginny was defined by being very hungry.
Yeah. So then, watching everything that he's going through, it's when he watches Luffy at the slave market that he said to himself, Holy shit. I had a hunch, but look at him protect fishmen. Fishmen who have been held down for a reason. Fishmen who are everything. And Punch do the ultimate thing. That is an act of high treason, the likes of which none have accomplished in many centuries. And that is the moment that he knows, shit, this is Nika. I'd almost bet my soul on it. And so he's going to bet his soul on it because once again, he's going to have to do something that's going to put his daughter at risk. I couldn't save any of them. That's not true. This is just the level of a new world. It's still too soon for the likes of you and your crew. Don't come here yet. One day in the future, you will be the man who saves the world.
Oh, beautiful.
So whether Luffy knew it or not, he had an uncle working behind the scenes. He had somebody, and this is what I think that can be forgotten. He had somebody who was loving and protecting him all along. He had a man who was putting his family at risk because he saw Luffy as not only his family, but the future.
It continues along with the themes of One Piece that you shouldn't just get a pass for being related to someone because Kuma investigates Luffy out of curiosity, but only comes to love and protect him for who he is as a person. It's not the gum fruit that makes him like you or Nika for sure. Sure, that's why he's certain when he sees how he acts, but it's punching a celestial dragon that makes him certain that this is a boy who's deserving of protection, that he is a boy willing to take on the world. It continues this beautiful theme that your actions and who you are what matter.
Exactly. So then Saturn, the piece of crap, you will not leave him any free will. I'm a scientist too. You cannot deceive me. But then Kuma and Bonney, they'll never meet again. I'm just happy that you thought of me, Vegapunk. Huh. You shouldn't have heard that. And who was it that gave me supersonic hearing? Well, here we are, Kuma. This is the day I flipped the switch. It's been a long 2 years, but I've enjoyed them with you. Me too. Your first mission seems like it involves fighting against Whitebeard's pirates. They've ordered a mass development of clone soldiers. After that is done, I'd like you to program a mission into me. You want to stand guard over the Straw Hat ship? I would like to protect their home until one of their crew returns to it.
Oh, their home is so special.
Because even though I won't be around to witness their growth, something in his action shakes the very core of my being. Nika is only a legend, but I instilled into Bonney the stories of a warrior who rides the rhythms of liberation and brings smiles to all. If there is a hero that will bring great transformation to the sea, I think it must be him. Oh, God. And so even in this last moments, when everything is about to be taken from him, I knew, and I said that I knew that there was something absolutely horrifyingly painful in him giving up his body and being pre-programmed by Vegapunk when we were there. And I said, like, this is going to be insane. In this time, I just was like, how could he be doing this? And why does he have this? And to find out, you cannot be a hero without other heroes. Luffy can't be the hero that saves the world unless a lot of other people are heroes. And Kuma is one of those big, big heroes. And Luffy didn't even know.
He didn't want any credit. He didn't want to be celebrated. He didn't want to be loved. He just wanted to help people. And he knew that saving Luffy was the way he'd save the world.
And to save their home kept them together.
Yep.
And then when you turn the page over, this page breaks me. Page 15 of 17 in chapter 1102. It shows how much Kuma has had to run and how he always chose to run towards the hard thing. It doesn't show him running away. It shows him running to the hard choice time after time after time. Every time he runs towards the hell and towards the hero.
It's the most beautiful picture.
It's absolutely heart-wrenching. And to watch the sobs coming out of Dr. Vegapunk, your death is a nuisance to every person who's ever known and loved you. Listen to me, Kuma, and listen good. You are a hero to Bonney and to all of us. Thank you. Say Vegapunk? Yes, I already know. Thank you for saving Bonney. If you should see Bonney, would you pass a message for me? Tell her happy 10th birthday.
Oh, yep.
Wild. And then to have Bonney throw herself at Dr. Vegapunk and hug him and say, I'm so sorry, Vegapunk, and understand the hell that went through. Oh, it was the entire thing. It was everything. Getting to see that. Oh, my eyes. I've got so much emotional leakage.
It's a rough one.
Oh, okay. What is this? It's a present for your 10th birthday. Kuma left it with me. From Daddy? Yay! What a beautiful sapphire. This necklace is shaped like the sun. I'll treasure it forever. And then it does have the 4 directions or the 4 winds, and then their right-hand person. That's how many circles are around it, which is kind of interesting. Indeed, 2 years ago, who could have imagined that a boy turning into this? So Straw Hat is the son of Daddy's friend. Yep, I was shocked when I saw the 2 of you together. Fate is strange things sometimes. I just, And then when she understands, it's Saturn. Everything is Saturn. It all falls down to Saturn. And then when you go into the next page, when you're on page 7 of 17 in chapter 1103, and you see Kuzuro laying on the ground in despair. Santomuro, Bonney. So it does kill him already. I'm going to predict that he turns in this arc simply because I want him to. I think holding it off too long is wrong.
I'm going to join you and put my money on that. I don't know if it's true. It feels like if I were writing it, what I would do. It just feels like it's too sad if Luffy can't give this man freedom.
Yeah, I would agree. Ooh. And then you've got Dragon. If Kuma is running off on some fragment of his true instincts, where do you think he would go, Iva? If it were me, I would charge Marajra without a second thought, but Kuma is different. And the fact that they're still looking for him is one of those put a pin in it, because it is possible that also the Straw Hats fighting against all these rat bastards could also come and have the Revolutionary Army come here, right? It is very possible that it's time for Luffy to meet his dad.
Yep.
Because you've got them trying to figure out where Kuma has gone to, and if they're trying to figure that out and they get news of where Bonney is going to be. The minute they know where Bonney is, and if Bonney is in danger, it would make sense for them to trip along. So I'm going to have to wait for a couple of chapters, but it seems possible. And I can't believe that. Here's another one. If I'm going to die anyway, says Bonney, I might as well take you down to me, she says to Saturn. Distorted future, Nika-like future. And then Saturn looks at her and goes, Nika? So she's already again and again trying to do these things. I'm getting weaker. Why? I see you're his daughter, and you know that name, but you don't know what it is. She doesn't seem to have made the connection between Nika and the Straw Hats. Such a shame. Hey, who gave him food? Put Seastone prison cuffs on him. Too late. Once Luffy is eaten, nothing can stop the Luferton.
Who fed Luffy's a great question. I think it feels impossible with what we know, but I think it's Kizaru.
I do too, but the only problem is that when I look at it and I'm looking at the ground, because I can see Kizaru here and this first shot, and he's one of the people lining up, and then when you flip over, it shows Kizaru laying on the ground. But it just feels like it was Kizaru.
It could be. It's either Kizaru, Caribou, or Van Augur seem like the likely candidates.
Caribou didn't give him food in this one. Caribou already gave him food in another one.
Yeah, but he could have done it again. He's mini fridge. That's his job.
I mean, I guess. Hate that kid.
Kizaru's the only one fast enough other than Van Augur. Van Augur could have been like, it's better for us if this guy gets his ass kicked because we need to get an opening to touch him. So here you go, Luffy. Teleport.
Okay. You want to believe in Nika, don't you? Nika is real. Ever since the day my father became a cyborg that obeys your orders, I've been searching for Nika, hoping that he'll be able to free Daddy. And your current weakness is evidence that you've begun to think he's not real. Your father believed in the idiotic legend of the Buccaneers as well. He said to me, I want to save people like Nika does. Years later, I performed a chemical experiment on your mother, who was the 8th wife of a fellow in the Holy Land. It was a failure. Those blue blemishes showed up again. But although I didn't have the desired results, I found quite curious that the same effect was passed down to her daughter. You did all of that? It is interesting that it was passed on to her daughter, because now he's going to be talking about a way to take people out over time. Like, imagine if you could do something that then gives the disease to the next person so you could wipe people out. Put yourself in my shoes. Would you bother yourself with the feelings of insects? It is impossible. So yeah, he is something more for sure. He's definitely a actual devil, an actual demon.
And if not, it's just a story about the corruption of power, and that's okay. But you know what? I'm putting my money on it. That's a demon.
I'm sorry, Daddy. After all you did for me, and he tries to smash him into the ground, and Kuma shows up. But you gotta keep wondering, like, how did Kuma know?
Love?
We already had that thing where he said if that's how it works, then physics is in trouble. But how is Kuma sitting with people? Is it the necklace? Like, yeah, like he gets it in his hands, but how is it just the necklace? There's something more there. Maybe it's programmed that if Bonnie's in danger, Kuma shows up, because I could see that being something that Vegapunk would do.
I can see that. I mean, but Vegapunk's shocked that Kuma can move right now. He's like, that guy should not exist. I don't think it's that.
But he says, I pressed Kuma's self-destruction switch, and here he still is.
Yeah.
And he punched out one of the 5 elders. Rescue Saint Saturn at once. A slave just punched a man in the pinnacle of the world. It's a historical atrocity. I don't know. I'm telling you right now, there's something more here. And once Kuma punches him, I knew that if I helped you turn into a bomb, they would inevitably use it. Ah, that's right, as a suicide weapon. But I upheld their conditions. The end. I attached a total shutdown switch to you. And now that's been thrown. You should be in a total vegetative state without the ability to act of your own free will or even carry out orders. There is no reason he should have sprung into motion, and no logical scientific basis for his arrival at this island where Bonney is.
It's definitely not something Vegapunk did, because he's fucking flabbergasted. This guy has no idea what's going on.
When he says this, you've got to think about what is inside the Buccaneers that makes them different. It is not the physical strength of the Buccaneers that makes them remarkable. For at one point in time, and then he stops. So what is going on? At one point in time, and then he just peters out.
Don't know. Could they act beyond death? Could they imbue their souls into objects? So like his soul is in the object that is his body. Is that how devil fruits were made? Was Buccaneer souls being used?
You gotta wonder, like Buccaneers have so much more to them. Like I love your idea that you just came across. Was it Buccaneers who made devil fruit?
Or my thinking with that is that they were used by the Lunarians to make devil fruits because their souls can persist into objects beyond death. So that's the way they got devil fruits to reincarnate, was with Buccaneer souls. But then again, we've also talked with each other that the idea of that the devil fruits were built to contain demons. You can't kill whatever the elders are, so what if you had to bind them into fruit? There's so much you could do. Do they have persistent souls? It's very difficult to place. There's so many ideas I have of what it could be.
Yeah, Kyuzuro. Now that you Kuma's seen, blah, 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 we got an abundance. Can't take the pressure? You're a sad man, Kyuzuro. Yes, I'm a miserable sight. I should have brought darker shades.
I love this guy, honestly.
Those, and then Saturn, those who study the secrets of the world, those who possess the blood of a lost people. So those would be the D's. And that's what I was going to tell you. Oh, a lost people. These people were taken. No, I'm saying there's a lost people that have to be found. And I'm wondering if those lost people are going to be the D's who have awakened an ancient god. This island is fully inconvenient people who must be eradicated. I think the lost people, I don't think it's just the Buccaneers. I think there's more to it. Like, yeah, Buccaneers are lost people, but there's only one Buccaneer there. How many D's are there? I don't know.
Okay. I think he's just talking about the Buccaneers, but we'll see.
You're still hiding something. It's for the sake of humanity. Did I forget to mention that I have ordered a strike against the ship that escaped the island? Same thing as we had in O'Hara. People escape. Everyone's running away. We're at least going to get all the survivors out, and boom, they take them out. Like, it's kind of obvious. The fact that they even had to wonder if that would happen. Come on now. Come on now. We knew it was going to happen. I wonder if it's going to be easier to read this piece by piece this way, because there isn't so much heartache all at one time. Because when you're reading like big honkin' chunk, it's amazing, like all that heartache piling up on top of you.
It's a little less heartbreaking, but it's still hard. Not knowing what happens week after week or how bad it's gonna get, it is difficult in its own right.
I can't believe how cool it is that Vegapunk said the one thing that he never said, and the one thing that I will not allow to happen is Bonney will never have to have her father murder her. So if Bonney asks to be saved by any of these pacifistas, she will be. So Bonney actually has the ultimate control. Don't shoot us, Daddy. Help us escape this island. Doom, doom, doom. Did you hear a voice through all the explosions? You couldn't have. And all the pacifistas turned around. That was such that was such good writing. I just adored that. And even though Vegapunk got stabbed right through the chest with the poison hell health, dude, and even though I will cut you two in half, don't worry, Bonney, it won't hurt. Kizaru! And even though they had to go through all of that, I just couldn't believe what great writing that was to have Bonney be able to control the pacifistas.
It puts things in an interesting place for the final war, where in theory, the pacifistas are under the control of the world government. However, we now have the Straw Hat side with Bonney and the Blackbeard side via the Seraphim with Katarina Devon able to hijack control.
This part where Bonnie's laying on the ground with Dr. Vegapunk and she has these memories. Nika, that's right, he's my idol. He appears from the blue with laughter and rhythm. And then we see Luffy flying through the air and Bonney looking up. So you didn't realize it, Bonney? I couldn't be sure until I saw it for myself. And Luffy is going, ah, with his drum. Dum, 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 dum. The very same Straw Hat Luffy that Kuma had his eye on was Nika, the sun god. Kuma was right. This buster call is futile. For centuries, people all over the world have been waiting for him. And that's why I don't know why people had to freak out. Obviously, he's not going to make her the same power. Obviously, he's not going to take away Luffy's specialness. Luffy had to train in a very special way. He had to align his hockey in a very special way. He is the one we have been waiting for. This isn't just like, we've been waiting for one and one more that we didn't tell you about. Like, that's not what it's gonna be like. But if you've been waiting for someone for all this time, you don't know the impact they're going to have on others, especially somebody who has made themselves to be like someone and who all her life has been steeped in the rhythm of his heartbeat and his freedom. Like, it just, obviously.
It's something beautiful that her image of freedom is Luffy's heartbeat, the very rhythm of his life, and a heartbeat that represented his life being gifted back to him after he proved himself by sacrificing everything and pushing himself to his limits to save people's freedom. It's beautiful.
I absolutely agree.
Symbolism in One Piece is so successfully layered. The layers don't conflict when they are layered. They all make each other stronger, and whether it's an illusion or a symbol within the series. And that's really hard to do as a writer. I see a lot of people who are like, we got to stop calling Oda Goda just because he foreshadows and plans. That's not it. This is it.
Exactly. This is some of the very best, coolest writing. And the way that he has pulled all these characters together in here, like Dory and Brogy, come on. We see them in the beginning of our journey. They're really kind of one of those moments where you had this feeling of like, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore. Like, Dory and Brogy really let us know that we were in a whole new world. And then when do they come back? Now? On Egghead? In the Meiji Restoration, obviously, because all the symbolism of updating how you work things and all of the technology that's involved and the being worried about moving yourself into the future is very Meiji Restoration. So we fully understand now, because suddenly they're here, just how powerful Dory and Brogy were when they show up here now. Damn, baby. And not only do Dory and Brogy show up, they bring all these other giants with us. So now we know that our boys got to go home. Absolutely breaks Usopp. I mean, come on now. And this is where they show up and they're like, yeah, we heard there was trouble here. So what are you doing here, Master Brogy and Master Dory? And they're just like, yeah, we heard there was trouble here and we came to sort it out with you.
So
and then
great.
Your heart is like, am I really getting to see this right now? Is this really something that's taking place? And how about this moment with Bonney? Hey, Bonney, why are you crying? Of course I'm crying, idiot. I've been looking for you. We've been together this whole time. I know, but I didn't know that you were Nika. Nika? What's a Nika? By the way, I saw that wimpy punch you threw. What a thing to say. So Luffy, I saw the wimpy punch you threw. I wanted to hit him with the rubber punch like yours. Show me how to do it. Oh,
this is so
show me how to do it. It's so good. Okay, from now on, throw your punches like this. He's in the middle of a fight with one of the elders. And he's like, oh, you want to see me throw punches? It's like this.
Because no matter what, Luffy is always about the reason he's fighting matters more than the fight. He is fighting to save people, and saving people doesn't just mean making them not die. It means saving their spirit, their ability to feel free. If it weren't for this, if it weren't for Luffy taking a moment to inspire her, then she wouldn't still see a future where she's free and be able to access the form she
Exactly.
did.
Because if he doesn't teach her, then he's saying, what's the point in learning? We're not going to be alive in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sanji kicking the laser light that comes out of Kuzoro. Are you kidding me? That was a laser beam, says Franky. Kizaru's eyes go huge. And then Sanji, love is stronger than light. And then Kizaru, if that's true, then physics as we know it is dead.
It's such a funny line.
I also, even though I hate Caribou, the wet reindeer, as we all know, watching him fanboy over Blackbeard's pirates was kind of cool. I'm just a humble pirate.
Equivalent of Bartolomeo.
Yeah, absolutely is. I'm at your service. I've been looking for you folks. See, there's a certain someone who's inspired me to go out to sea in the first place. My lifelong dream is to be one of Master Blackbeard's teaches goons. Please, you just gotta let me see him in person. I'm begging you. It was so cool. Bardo would have been proud with his fanboying.
Except he'd be like, you're back in the wrong goddamn horse. And to me, ladies, you're both beautiful. You've made great choices. Don't worry. You picked the 2 best pirates in the game.
Oh my god.
Bardo's slightly better.
We're gonna not be agreeing on this shit at all.
I feel like I have cheated at picking favorite characters because Blackbeard, by the way stories work, is almost guaranteed to just keep winning until he fights Luffy, my favorite character, and then lose.
I guess so.
I get my way the whole story.
I'm so excited, that we're going to go over to the Island of Giants and we're going to get to see the Island of Giants and stuff. But I'm more also excited how much lore we're going to find out on the Island of Giants. Them rescuing all the books from O'Hara and finding out about how they have been tackling keeping the history alive. It feels like Buccaneers plus Giants equals whole world opening up. And after that, to the moon, baby. Oh, God, I hope Kuma doesn't die. Like Kuma, I've always loved that boy. The minute I met him, I was like, what's up with this kid?
Yeah, he has been in more images I've drawn than any character not named Luffy.
You know when you love someone so much, but it isn't even obvious to you, and then you look back on it, and it's like the usual suspects. You see all the places that he is, and you're like, I pick him all the time.
I was there with you when you were reading Thriller Bark, and you despised him until the very end of Thriller Bark when he let Zoro live and said the line about Dragon, and then you were like, what the f is this guy's deal? He's so fascinating.
That was my Kuma moment where the two of us, I was like, all right, hold my hand, buddy. I have a feeling you're going to need it. This is a long ass. Hey there, YouTube. Can I hear some joy? Joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. Down in my heart. You know what give me joy, Drawk?
Nope.
If people subscribe and like, joy, 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 down in my heart. I'm going to sing that again one day. Not now, I'm done. We have a P.O. Box. You can send us letters and or your predictions or pictures of you with your dog. I don't know what you send. Woo! Right there. The other thing is when we get to 100,000 subscribers, we're going to get a tattoo. And now I have a different idea about a tattoo. I want people to send in tattoo ideas because we're going to get there and we're going to get tattoos. And we have a Discord.
We're in the group. We won't always get to everything because there's a lot to catch up on, but we're there. And if you ping us, like we see it.
We talk. Also, when we get to 20,000 subscribers, which we are almost at, we're going to get a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Then Drawk is going to do a whole big ass Marco the Pineapple.
No, that was 50. That was 50,000.
Oh, I lied to you. What was 20,000?
20,000 is someone said we wouldn't do it.
Well, I know that.
That's all. We didn't say anything else. We just did the
thing.
Can
we change it? Can you be Marco at 20,000?
When I commit to numbers, I try my best to commit to them.
God dang it, Drawk.
I commit to numbers.
Fine. Drawk will dress up as Joy Boy Luffy. Nika.
What?
I just committed you. When I commit you to numbers, I commit you to numbers.
That's not how that works. I only have hair in the center of my head. How am I supposed to do that?
We're gonna get a wig. It's gonna be fantastic. Everyone, it's time. Joy.
The whole reason I was gonna be Marco was that the hairstyle fits. Oh my god.
20,000. I'm gonna help you put together an outfit. People are gonna go, what the shit am I looking at? Joy, 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 down in my heart. I'm practically already in a wig store.
You know what? At the end of the day, making your identity about numbers on YouTube is bad for your mental health. So feel free to just take it like nice and slow. I think it's probably good for our ego.
No. I want skywriting. Put it on chalk on roads. Write it on windows.
If you're at a One Piece trading card game tournament, don't bring up the channel necessarily. You want to make friends. Don't be like a pusher.
Do it nonstop. Before you and I close this, I just want to say I'm super excited for you.
So we've honestly talked about the end of this section enough early on that we kind of don't need to go over it in the same detail.
When they summon all the little bastards, when we bring Gayuki, Isumari, is it Fenget?
Who knows?
Bakatsu, and then it's just Sandworm, which I thought was funny. He doesn't even get a cool name. He just is Sandworm.
Normally, most of the other ones are yokai from Japanese mythology, and that's a Mongolian sandworm.
Yeah, that one is Mongolian, which is interesting. I love that for us. When suddenly those little bastards come out and we're doing a whole big ass fight now, I was like, are you flipping kidding my face? Which is why it makes sense to have all these different people that are going to have to come in here, and why Kizaru is going to have to change sides. Luffy gets swallowed by another thing. Luffy gets swallowed by a lot of snake-like things.
It's frequent.
But let's talk about the world sinking. This is another thing that I had on the Drawk prediction list.
Well, you talked about some cities being sunk to hide things, so I'm going to give you a gold star for that for sure. Obviously, the details were a little off, but how are you supposed to guess all this?
I mean, come on now.
I also want to say that it's so cool, and people pointed this out. You predicted that the government promoted racism to fishmen so that they couldn't show the secrets of these sunken cities that they'd sunk based off Jinbei's cover story.
Yeah.
And you did that, and I didn't hype it up because I was like, yeah, whatever, maybe. And then that became a mainstream theory weeks later when the world sinking was revealed, which is so cool.
Mama's a cheat. Am I now? Look at this.
You'd have to have like an in with Shonen Jump.
How do you know that I'm not Shonen Jump?
Well, and then you'd be a cheat.
A Shonen Jump who has never read a manga.
Yeah, it's crazy, actually, when you put it like that. It's wild that you did that.
Did I mention that Oda and I are best friends? We share tea. Never gone to Japan. It's on my list, man.
It's
on
one
my
issue
list.
with your plan. You have a dream that we will get to Japan via this series.
Okay, we get to see the whole world sitting around waiting. Vegapunk's message is coming out. They're all flipping out. I'm so glad we got to see a little bit more of that, by the way. And literally, we get to visit everybody globally, which, what a frickin' gift.
Except for like Skypiea and Thriller Bark, because everyone's dead there.
Yeah. And then he's like, the world as we know it will sink into the sea. And I'm like, well, that makes sense because shit happened 800 years ago that are just like that. And how do we know? Because there's places underwater that the fishmen know about. And why do we want to keep the fishmen down there? And why do we want to promote slavery and hatred towards them and make them feel dirty? Because we need those bitches to keep their mouth closed. Why? Because we're evil. Like, I think we've already covered that. You saw the weirdos who jumped out of the summoning circles were led by pure, unadulterated evil. So it was absolutely crazy to get to look around the world and see people that we haven't seen in so long. Like, we got to go to Long Ring Longland. Ugh. And I was like, ooh, that's going to be uncomfortable for you guys. You already have issues with the ocean. This is already a problem. It's also cool because Oda took in problems that we have right now where we're talking about the sea levels rising up, turned them into a fictional kind of awesomeness, and then was like, let's chuck this crap out on the thing. We got to see Foxy. You're right. I was so excited. He's not doing the best. Vegapunk, don't you dare say another word. In my own way, I only ever hoped for peace, says Vegapunk. But this was the root of my first sin. What about the power plant? Not yet. The chamber must not be hard. I dreamt of a source of endless eternal energy. And that's exactly what Oda is doing, bringing up the idea of energy and making it about energy in a world that is so freaking gas and oil dependent, where we're talking about our own problems with energy, and it's the problem of energy that's causing our own issues with our ocean rising. Like, come on. I was so excited for this. And my desire to push the world forward into the future. And then he goes, I flew too close to the sun, which is ironic when you're talking about he flew too close to the sun, and yet Nika is the sun god. And I thought that was a chef's kiss detail that moves over there. Now we're watching everyone try to escape while he's saying, allow me to explain just what it is that is happening to our world. And then we find out about 900 years ago to 800 years ago. And that's interesting, too, that he said from 900 to 800, because everyone always talks about 800 years ago, when in actuality, it was 900 years ago to 800 years ago, because we're moving backwards.
It's not called the void year.
Exactly. And so you're like, oh, yeah, that would have had to be 900.
By seeing the elders grow increasingly desperate and self-destructive, and by seeing the world fall apart at this information, and watching the different reactions, and checking in with every person we've seen, where they are, where they've gone, how this is affecting them, this feels thrilling to me.
There is a span of history, it's entirely blank. We call it the void century. It means that there's a lost piece of history in the form of poneglyphs that are scattered across the world, and to decipher their contents, then it goes into Orange Town, and then we see our doggy, and oh god, it was so good to see all these people. However, the government has made a crime of the highest order to decipher the messages of the poneglyphs, and despite being a member of the government myself, I broke this law. That was my second sin. Through the sheer tenacity of a group of excellent archaeologists, I inherited a number of poneglyphs which I have deciphered and continue studying the best of my ability, and I regret none of this. History, you see, tells a story. I can't believe the people that we run through. In other words, what I know is an incomplete story of 100 years of void. It would be dishonest to fill the blanks with speculation, so I will leave you with only one verified truth. The main character of the story, like the sun god Nika spoken in Elbaf legend, he fought with a body that stretched and contracted. His name was Joy Boy, and he was the very first man on this sea to be called a pirate. Flower capital Wano, everyone's listening. People are in jail, including Damalo Black, who I don't care about. Go bite a donkey.
But isn't it funny that he's fake kid now?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I'm not going to lie. I was like, are you kidding me?
He is kidding you.
But what I found there was a record of breathtaking, vast war. Joy Boy's enemy was the world government to the present day. More acutely, it was a precursor to the world government, a provisional army put together by 20 kingdoms known as the Alliance. You might say they had no other choice, so robust was Joy Boy's faction. And without knowing the spark that caused the war, I won't say who was right or wrong. I'll simply state that the two competing ideologies came head to head. As I mentioned earlier, for its time 900 years ago, the country of Joy Boy's birth was a startlingly advanced civilization. So it's going to be interesting whether or not Joy Boy aligned himself with the Buccaneers or was a Buccaneer.
I think he was a Buccaneer and the Lunarians were slaves. You can't be a pirate if you align yourself with the nation, which is why I think that.
I think that's interesting. And the weapons that were used over the course of 100 years in this conflict appear to be impossible to recreate with the latest modern science. And therein lies the problem. Over. The Void Century came to a close with the defeat of Joy Boy, but not before leaving us vast permanent scars of war across the face of the world. So the world is made up of a series of islands. Sailing between them is difficult, which is what I talked about before.
You got so hyped when you read this. People don't know how hyped she got. She was like, I said this! I said they made it hard to get places on purpose, and everyone said I was crazy. And then Vegapunk's
awesome
like, and by the way, did you know that if they did it on purpose?
And I was like, yeah, this is me, the vindication!
You
the
call
vindication!
me crazy!
Actually, I want a shooting star for that.
Yeah, there you go. Boom!
That was incredible. Thank you. Sailing between them is difficult, and many people never experience anything but their own culture and home, which you want them to. It does not necessarily apply to the world 1,000 years ago because a cataclysm occurred during the Void Century, causing the world to sink once before. We are currently living on pieces of the continent. You called me crazy! That existed long ago. The world of a millennium ago now slumbers, unseen at the bottom of the ocean. I feel so vindicated by this, I can't even tell you. What I want to do is high-five him over and over again. I want to find Oda and be like, yeah, the vindication! In fact, we can assume there's a number of continents we don't even know about. If the world were still the same as it was in the past, the act of racing 100 years would simply be unthinkable. When you understand that the rise in the sea level over that century was 200 meters, which is what, Drawk? Why is that a significant amount?
Genuinely, I actually don't know where you're going right now.
It's actually one of the end results of how high we think the ocean could move up.
Oh, I didn't realize. That's cool.
So the dramatic shift couldn't happen within a single century. So the cause is something else. And when I detected the rise worldwide sea levels the other day, I had my answer. I knew the cause and confirmed its existence. The ancient weapons that sank the world into the sea 800 years ago still exist today, and to wait the moment that they will stir once again. In other words, the vast war that arose during the Void Century never came to an end.
This whole piece is so crazy.
That is next level bonkers. Bonkeroni. We're still fighting. How are we still fighting? We're hiding things, but we're still at war. And then did you see this? Did you see when Emu walks over from the war 800 years ago still ongoing, where how could any of them still be alive? How could any of them still be alive? And then it shows Emu standing in front of a picture of that woman. How can the war still be going on if nobody knows about it? Explain, Vegapunk.
But this is what I love, that it goes to what Emu said of the D don't even remember what they are, but it doesn't matter because the spirit is carried on.
Exactly. It's a little bit overly crazy that Emu stands in front of that picture, which is Lily, and stares at it with big-ass eyes. Though it's still incomplete, I have reached the last practical stage, and it is the energy source that will one day future enrich all the lives of the world. Unfortunately, a little piece of that flame has been stolen. The fault lies entirely with me. And then when he explains that that's the reason why an entire piece of land was taken away, the flame I created was used to activate an ancient weapon. I know nothing about who might have carried it out. And then there's so many things in here. And Joy Boy attempted to preserve them for the future. So listen to me. When we come back, the Void Century is still ripe with mysteries. However, there are some who have learned the truth. Dun 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 dun. The king of the pirates' crew. Dun 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 dun. Why are there secrets of the world at the hands of the pirates? We're all in terrible danger. Wait. And then, oh my God, Rayleigh getting drunk as heck and being like, don't let them know. Just let them live out their life.
Yeah, says the world's greatest swimmer.
Too late, my friend. Too late. And when it cut off, but then it comes back, so we missed the D, apparently. Makes me so sad. But on the other hand, when we cut off and we were about to find out the D, I was like, God damn it, the D is the biggest thing ever. Oh my God.
Don't tell us. And then they don't tell us, and we're like, what the fuck?
I was like,
this
it's
would
jamming.
tie in with your thought that the D are sleeper agents. Like, instead of there being a person, there is a will within you.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
then it comes back to his name is. So probably a person? I don't know.
Let's just look at 119 because we didn't pull it apart yet. I got to tell you, when the Iron Giant went down, but she gonna come back up. She gonna come back up. How many Vegapunks are still alive? Set sail, Luffy. Woohoo! We're on the giant ship and it's huge. Luffy just is excited about everything. Luffy just chooses chaos joy. I've always been free. And now we're floating above the water. Bonney! Whoa, Nika. Who's that anyway? Hey, that's a festival rhythm. So the beating of Luffy's heart is the beat of a festival rhythm.
Probably the Sun Festival we know that happened that Big Mom destroyed.
Yeah, so the pieces of Joy Boy are buried in open sight, threaded throughout every bit of history. Stop dancing and put out the fire, you dummy. Let's go. You want to beat those guys. I don't know how your powers work, but you can do it. That's what I look like when I'm free. Luffy tells her to become Joy Boy. Luffy asks her to take on the same mantle. Does she have the same power? No. Does she have the same ability to intertwine her haki? No. No. Is she going to have anything like him? No. But Luffy says to her, there's so much more inside of you. He says right here, I don't know how your powers work. That's what I look like when I'm free. And she goes, distorted future. Future where I'm the most free. And so what is she going to pick? She's going to pick this. It's been put into every part of her DNA.
I love that this means Luffy has inspired her enough to believe in a future where she is free.
Exactly. And then he says right to her, where I'm the most free. Ah, now you've got it, Bonney. Let's go. And she looks at him. Yeah. And Kuma is standing on the side watching his daughter embody the ultimate freedom, the thing that he has always seen as the most ultimate sign of freedom that he has carried ancestrally his whole life and passed on to his baby. And we get to see that. That is
just beautiful.
Nothing but designed writing at a godlike level. The way that he has given her that power over 100 chapters. More.
And we're
it's
seeing
incredible.
Everything with Elbaf in that. We're getting to see them react to everything at the same time and add meaning to it, add impact. Like, it's just everything working together.
Yes, exactly. And so then when the giants see them both up there and they go, Nika! And they're just thrilled. Listen up, boys. You can hurt these guys by ripping them up or crushing them. And then just enjoys fighting and enjoys it because he knows that he is creating freedom for others. And that in this form, he just gets to be like, woo, Donaloon, and start fighting his ass off. And our underwater iron giant comes back to life underneath because he's got all the Joy Boy up on top, beating out the Sun Festival song, beating out the rhythm of freedom. And he's like, no, I'm going to come back to life. So shit's going to happen with him. He rips off the horn. There's going to be way more to Emmett. Emmett's going to have some secret. Emmett is going to be a honkin' ass deal because Emmett has history and missing technology. And I look forward. I'm hoping that Franky gets to work with the whole cyborg community, Vegapunk leftover, and the information that was taken, and that they can play with Emmett in the end. Oh, This was good.
It was beautiful. Egghead, it's not technically over yet, but I think it's my favorite.
I'm already saying, yeah, I think it's my favorite too. And that's hard for
Obviously-
me. You know how I feel about my favorite.
Yeah. Is your favorite still Impel Down or is it Wano? Like,
I think it's going to be Egghead. I'm struggling with the Wano because I love Japanese history. I love the way the things were woven in.
they're such opposites. One is concise and one is bloated, but the one that's bloated has the highest joy peak of the series.
But I just also love Impel Down. I love the way Impel Down was put together. He constructed that one so well.
Yeah.
And then
So-
put hidden gems in.
Is the most hated character of the arc our friend Saturn.
Oh God, do we even need to ask that?
He's the first character worse than Charlos. He's the worst character in One Piece.
He's the
most
worst
hateable
character
man.
ever.
He's
I
the
hate
most
him so
hateable
much.
man.
Yeah, like I hate that man so much.
Who's got the drip?
Oh.
Because
Oh, let's
this is-
do this together, side by each, back
Yeah.
and forth.
My number one drip, Centaur mode, Ethan Baron Venus Juro.
What?
Is he a good guy? No. Is he the coolest, baddest looking motherfucker? Yeah. Centaur mode specifically, not horse, not man. Horseman, number one.
Oh yeah, you couldn't get away with that without the skeleton horse body.
No, that's how he pulls it off.
Okay,
Mhm.
you know who I never mentioned, and I love their drip, and so they're a team for me, is Dory and Brogy.
Dorian Brogy makes a lot of sense.
Their drip is rich, and I love it. And when they came back on, I immediately thought, damn!
My other character is Nika Bonney.
Obviously. But I'm going to put Luffy and Bonney up there together, because their drip is similar, and they complement each other,
Fair
and
enough.
Oda did an amazing job. She's sashed up, he's sashed up, she's got white stockings, he's got white... You know what I mean? Like,
You know what?
he did a really good job of creating like they look better as a team.
You know
Cloud babies.
I wanted to be part of this part, but I think it's got to be your top 5. This is your victory lap.
Bonnie's number 1. Bite me.
Valid.
But she didn't get there on her own. She's there with her dad.
I was
Kuma
gonna
is number 1 too.
There we go.
So Bonnie and Kuma are my top 1, and I am thrilled with it. And then my number 2 in this is gonna be, I hate this, Saturn.
It's so funny that he's the most hateable character, but also, yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
so compelling.
Do I hate it? Yes. But did he make a story fire?
Yeah.
Also, yes. Number 3 is Vegapunk.
Which one?
Old dude.
Fair, Stella.
Yeah. Okay, my number 4 is Dory and Brogy.
You already did Dorian Brogy for number
That was
for
outfit. How
I'm
dare
crazy.
you? They are my number 4. And my number 5, which is crazy that I'm not draw hatting all the way, but it's too crazy, is the Iron Giant.
Interesting. It's about who brings you joy, so that's fair. What brings you joy?
Yeah. Luffy tier, Luffy is S+.
Yeah, come on. The boy is freedom.
He gave it all.
How does our protagonist keep getting better? Okay, I think we did it. You read One Piece.
All of One Piece.
I told you when you were miserable through the long stretch, all the way from Sabaody Archipelago to post-war, where I told you the suffering was worth it. Was it worth it to make it this far?
It really, really was. And I need to say, I read pretty extensively. I have been involved in a lot of things. This is one of the most masterful pieces of writing I have ever seen in my life. I can't think of anything off of the top of my head that I feel was done better.
That's how I feel. It's not that it's flawless, because nothing is, but it doesn't need to be flawless. It just needs to do what it does in a way nothing else ever has. I truly don't think I've seen media that can create as much joy. And that is remarkable.
Oh, now you have to add a
Another
straw
one-
hat.
Damn, we're gonna have to do a lot. This episode, we're doing a lot.
2 more add a straw hats?
Now, here's what you've done. You guys have made a mistake, because at this point,
3 more add a straw hat?
it's just a pattern.
1, 2, 3 more add a
It's been
straw
like,
hat.
It's been like 6. Straw hat has always been an actual like hat.
Absolutely fascinating. Do the crew,
Um,
dude. There's another straw hat.
Guys, I'm having a struggle right now. The art inclination to make the shape of Bonnie's body aesthetically appealing and the she's 12, don't make it look sexually aesthetically appealing. It's the shape Oda picks for women makes this so fucking hard.
I told you, it's kind of icky.
It is! The character design is really difficult to work with.
She chooses to make herself what she's seen as being powerful women, and she lives in Oda's world.
That's what adult women look like. I think it's interesting that distorted future burns her out, but her regular future form doesn't.
Yeah, it really is weird.
Guys, I have a problem, which is I have no idea how to add in the Straw Hats without ruining this composition. Guys, I'm sorry for copping out and just making the 9 Straw Hats into a pattern behind them, but I think this is my favorite art I've done for the channel. And like,
it's better that the Straw Hats are back there, because now it's a reminder that these two being in this joy thing, that we've got a straw hat on this kid and we've got a giant ass straw hat in a room with Emu. Like, it's a big ass deal. This hat means something. This art is fire, which is ironic since it looks like it's in a wave fire. You know what, next week, because this person said we didn't even talk about the Oppenheimer of it all, and I agree and I agree and I agree.
There's so much, guys. This is
next
dense.
week, let's you and I come on and just do some theorying around the end of this, because we didn't do it justice. You can't with the shit
want
that
to dive
happened.
into theories with you about it too.
We need to talk about Stussy next time. We need to go back over this again.
If you're in the Discord, the One Piece spoiler chat is going to become the One Piece chat, and the book club chat will no longer be for One Piece once we decide on what we're reading next. It'll be for whatever that is.
Wild.
Okay?
I'm going to make so many heavy predictions. Everybody is so worried for me, and I'm like, bro, it's going to be so fun, Drawk. I have been in the dark. We're both in the light. I have never been able to see the future, and I still don't get to see the future. So you and I are going to theorize our asses off together. I'm going to consume like I have Luffy's appetite. Nothing is safe for me. I'm going to eat every piece of One Piece ever made. So much fun, baby.
Everybody, until next time.
Squish on, squishies.
It's been lovely talking to you.